Welcome to the Fromthe108 podcast, starring the drunk uncles of White Sox Twitter. He's a Twitter-like whore, an Instagram thirst trap, and your grandma's guilty pleasure, Beef Loaf. A West Coast attitude in a decidedly Midwest body, My Sock Summer. And your host, he's sharing obscure music thoughts to give you time to hit the bathroom, Terezi E.
Thank you, Cornsey, and welcome to the Fromthe108 podcast. Get ready for some baseball, beer, and bullshit. And remember the drinking rules. If Beef Loaf says allegedly, or that he wrote a blog about that, you drink.
Oh, my internet's
if
working tonight.
Summer doesn't know a player or mentions his time on the West Coast, you drink.
So far, bitch.
If I swear or say, here's the thing, you drink. And if Nick or Pat try to give me some bullshit about Andrew Vaughn's good defense, finish your entire drink.
Yes.
Speaking of drinking, my fellow 108ers, what are you drinking?
Oh, booyah.
Beef, what are you drinking? And what kind of non-meat filled beer are you drinking?
Well, as you might know, I mean, most of the listeners probably don't know. I decided to go vegan for February. I might do a little vegetarian cheat. We'll see. I might need to squeeze some pizza in there. Obviously, that would be with no meat on it. So I need to stick to alcoholic beverages that are vegan. And I put a poll out there, and you can hit me up at Mr. Delicious 13 on Twitter. My poll was asking what you wanted me to drink, and overwhelmingly the crowd voted expired beer. So I'm drinking from the regular season. I'm drinking the gorgeous and delicious Next Coast IPA by Goose Island. It still tastes terrific. Fuck my sock summer. This shit tastes good forever. I'm going to try to drink 8 of these tonight. I have the mug right now that I've got. It holds 2 beers. This White Sox mug is one of the giveaways.
Beer
so I'm just going to force it down. I don't think it does. No, it's past the born on date or whatever bullshit.
It's past the best by date, right? But like,
it tastes
still
great.
Good.
It tastes
no,
great
it's expired. You wouldn't want to. I wouldn't drink that, but that's okay.
You know what you're telling me right now, my sock summer?
What am I
telling
that
you? Don't like Jose Abreu. He's past his best by date.
That's right.
And now you hate him. You're just
Listen,
you're an Abreu snob now too.
If we could go to the store and buy a younger, more viral, better tasting Jose Abreu for the same price as expired.
Wait. If you're trying to tell me that Abreu does not taste wonderful,
same better tasting,
I fucking disagree.
What if he had been showered recently so he would be better tasting? That's what I'm thinking about the beer. The beer's a little stanky. Been around for a while, hasn't showered. That's where we're at.
All I know is my body's a temple, my sock summer, and I would never put anything in it that could harm me. So obviously I'm a vegan now, so I'm better than both of you. And this beverage is perfect for my body, and it's going to respond great. Just like it did last podcast when I had 8 of these Next Coast IPAs.
That's great. That's funny. Yeah.
What are you drinking, my friend?
I am drinking my go-to, my skinny drink, my Knob Creek Maple. I had to open a new bottle. And I remember when I got the second bottle of this immediately, I was like, oh shit, why do I don't need 2 full bottles of smoked maple. But then I took 1 bottle in my dad's house and he drank half of it. So that's what happened. So then I did need it. So it was great. I had regular Knob Creek without the maple in it this weekend. Not as good. But it's okay. It's okay.
I just love that your diet drink is maple syrup flavored bourbon.
Exactly. Listen, I was thinking.
It's better than eating 8 or drinking 8 fucking beers or questioning if veganism is going to work after 2 days. I don't know. I mean, I think
it is working. It's just not working as fast as I'd like it to.
It's been 2 days.
Only half pound I lost in 2 days. Come on. Speed this up, man.
2 days.
I want to be 140 pounds by the time February comes.
It's like when you've done the kettlebells 2 times in a week. You're like, my arms still aren't big. I don't get it. Why are they not big?
White Sox Sal. I did chill the Oktoberfest beer. That's a good call. I may bust one out later on, maybe after one of the breaks.
Oktoberfest beer, as well as the Sox Golden Ale, I would be more inclined to drink as an expired beer. Not so much IPAs, but definitely that. Chorizo, what are you drinking?
I got the Goose Island. You can't never see it when I'm holding it, but the Solo
Oh yeah, that's the diet beer, baby.
That's
it is. It is because
yeah,
and it's named Solo, right? And I'm a huge Han Solo guy, so I love that. And like as you guys probably know, I'm incredibly fit now.
Yes.
I'm down to 198 pounds,
Yes.
and despite me being a foot shorter than you guys, I am the only one under 200 pounds at this point.
That's true.
So I'm feeling trim. I'm feeling trim.
Yeah, I mean that's about 20 pounds of cock too. So you're a thin guy right now. You're looking lean. I like it.
20 pounds of ass, sir.
Well, there's no
20?
question.
Maybe 40.
I would guess I've got about 60 pounds of ass.
60 pounds.
Respect.
Damn. Get some titties to go with that ass. You'll be all over Twitter, bro.
that's the only way I'm gonna get past 5,000 followers. I gotta show off my ass.
I like it, man. A full ass picture on Twitter. Do that sometime this summer. Don't even preface it or anything. Just throw it out there. No comment. Just
not full ass. I can't go full ass. What am I gonna do on my OnlyFans page if I go full ass on Twitter?
Yeah, you can't then. Wear a thong. Get the dental floss right in the middle
that's a
just
good
to
idea.
protect it. No one needs to see the star yet. That's okay.
Beef, how you doing tonight, man?
You know what? It's been a busy week at work, but I'm doing pretty good. I was looking forward to talking to you guys, but I had an observation, and I really need my Sox Summer to weigh in on this. Last weekend, Trees and I were talking a little bit about the 108 tourney, and I made some adjustments to the bracket, and I put it out there on Twitter. And White Sox Sal was making fun of the fact he's like, Trees, you don't look at any of this. And he put some gifs of a guy like balling up a piece of paper and throwing it out. And another guy like, I don't care. That's how Treasy acts towards this stuff. And I didn't put two and two together right away, but I started looking at Treasy interacting with the Star Wars people. He has the podcast on Saturdays that he and Josh Nelson do.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that Star Wars podcast for the series that's going on right now. I think it's the series about Boba Fett.
The Glamororian or some shit.
And one of the responses, right. Treasy says, I watched the episode 3 times to prepare for the show. Then he was telling me later that day, he's spending all this time on the agenda to get ready for this 90-minute show. And it got me thinking, my Sox Summer, Treasy spends the 4 minutes that we're getting ready before the show to scribble down his notes on a used Band-Aid. And that's his prep for the 108 show. So what do you think about the disparity in preparation between him doing the Star Wars show and him doing the big show, for lack of a better word, the 108 show?
To be fair, right? He's not really here to share his great opinions. They're not great. He's here to wrangle us cats, or he's herding cats, basically.
He is herding cats. He does a good job of that.
2 big, slightly less fat cats than were before.
Still overweight, not as diabetic.
He pushes us into things. He knows that you're going to say something, that's going to be crazy. I'm going to say something crazy on this side, and he's going to try to pull it together, or he'll move to each side. He plays a very good role.
He dances well on the show. Yeah, I agree with you.
Here's what I think, though. Here's what I think. He's working with Josh Nelson, who I had the opportunity to work with this afternoon. I did the Spaces, so one of the first times ever. And this is why. People are going to be like, why'd you do this one? You didn't do the Sox ones. Well, my daughters get out of school at 2:30, so I usually can't do it. One had a sick day, or one had a snow day, which was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. There was no goddamn snow, and they still canceled school. Second, my other daughter got into her extras program after school, so she gets to do more school after school, which she asked for, which is another weird thing, but okay, I'm with it. So I didn't have to go get her, or we didn't have to go get her until 4:00. So then I'm like, I'm free. I throw Frozen on the TV. The one kid's a happier in hell. I'm sitting here talking all sorts of promotion stuff, the stuff I know really good. I think he needs to be ultra prepared to work with the ultra prepared Josh Nelson. I feel like Josh Nelson, if he made the agenda for that Sox, the Star Wars show, he would knock that out in 13 minutes, because Jim has a whip on that motherfucker, and he's like, boom, you know what to say. You know what you're supposed to say. Jim will just get right on Josh and be like, so that's why he knows working there. This is Josh's release, so that's why he makes Treasy do it. But Treasy's afraid that if he doesn't, Josh is gonna go all Jim on Treasy. That's what's gonna happen.
So that's not it. Although that's
Damn it. I was probably close.
I was wondering, Treasy, when he was going to land that plane. I was like, where are we going here?
It was a little bit, but I enjoyed the ride. I will tell you why I prepare like that, Beef. So
let's hear it.
Our commenters here are here having a good time, right?
They are.
You know,
there's no question.
But
high drunk,
and I think the Star Wars people that are commenting usually are good too. However, Star Wars fans are not like fun-loving Sox fans here. All right.
Okay.
So if I were to fuck up and say something wrong, like imagine when we did the live show and Chris Tannehill said we should pick up Cesar Hernandez, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's already on a team," and everyone's like, "Oh, cheers," and we drank.
Yep.
He would have been murdered. Like just like someone would have came up, ripped both of his eyes out, screamed at him, "How dare he, think that, this was a Rancor as opposed to a crate dragon," and it would have been over for him. So I just want to live.
Man, Millman Jack put up a very crazy comment. It's crazy. He blasted out. Yes, that's the one. And if you're if you're just listening to the show and not watching the show, you're missing a creepy ass comment from Millman Jack. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why you should watch it live.
Now you got to watch on YouTube sometimes.
Well, you do what you do, what Treasy does with the Star Wars. You watch it live when it happens, then you re-listen to it again on the podcast feed. Make sure you don't miss anything.
That's at least 3 times.
At least 3 times.
You know what would be great if someone had a podcast about our podcast.
Oh my God!
Someone would have to research it and do agendas based on our podcast. My sex summer, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I was a little MIA last weekend. We was down in Mokina / New Lenox / Manhattan, Illinois, which is not in New York. I thought I was going to New York. I did not. It's actually in Illinois. And we were hanging out. We were celebrating the life of my buddy Steve. And I was hanging with a guy that I've known, well, one of my good friends from grade school through high school, through college, through after college, was back in town. So that was nice. He got to spend some time with my family. And then just hanging with his old friends and our old friends and people that we knew peripherally somewhat. And then guys we went to college with, and just a crazy, crazy fucking time. And, the guys drank 3 bottles of Boone's Farm in like an hour while they were playing fucking the horse dice game. Oh my God, that thing was insane. And my daughter kept saying, I want to play. And I never let her play, and I should have let her play because that would have been even better. Her drinking Strawberry Hill and rolling dice trying to get quarters. That would have been so much fun.
Never too early to start. You're a Bridgeporter now, sir.
That's right. That's right. So Steve was a good guy, and he was a very particular guy, and he would bust your ass for anything. Like, he would just rip on you, but you could have destroyed Steve in like 3 words, and everyone knew you could have destroyed Steve. And he was a short guy, he was bald, and he was chunky. Like, you could have just killed him easily, very easily, but you didn't, because you wanted to be respectful, and you knew the place of that he was coming from with the shit giving was not something rude. And he was a 108 fan. He listened to our podcast, and he would send me texts like the following day and would tell me all sorts of stuff. And one of the last text exchanges that we had before he passed was he sent me a text that said, I lived with you for all those years. I knew you for all these years. I had no idea you were even into sports. And I was like, well,
yes.
I go, you definitely, when you lived with me, I was not a big sports guy. I was into
one sport back then.
Exactly. Another reason to watch the podcast. So I was like, I didn't really, do much. Everyone of my friends, most of my friends are Cub fans. So we went to a lot of Cubs games, but we never really went to Sox games. So I didn't have time to do that. And then when I moved out west, then I started going and seeing the Sox a lot more because they were playing Anaheim. So yeah, it was funny. And we told a ton of stories. And the one thing that was just the funniest thing is he had one night we went out to there's a sushi bar out in Tempe on Mill Avenue, and it's called Raw Sushi. And at like 7:00 they would drop It's very similar. Yes. They would have a half price appetizers, and one of the appetizers you get was sake bombers. And I don't know if you guys have ever had sake bombers, but they are a Ichiban, like big Ichiban beer, and that you would pour in a glass, and then you would take warm sake, warm sake, and then drop it in there, and then you would slam it. And those were like $3. So like it was just ridiculously cheap, and you would get so hammered if you just started pounding them. He had a brand new Monte Carlo when we moved to Arizona, and he was never letting anybody drive it, never letting anybody touch it. We go out on Mill. He drove that night. Somehow he lost. He's feeling the fellow. He's drinking. He gets hammered, and he's like throws his keys at me. We've been out for an hour. It goes, "You're driving," and I was like, I got to stay somewhat sober to drive. Okay. So because it's his car and whatever. Night continues. We have a good time. We drive home. He's wasted. We get home. We put him into his bed. He gets there. He's in his bed. Me and my buddy Matt are sitting in the front room or watching some TV or something. We just hear this loud crash, like something like just smashed, like big smash. His bedroom had a big plate glass window. We get up, go open the door. The plate glass window is shattered, and there are pieces of the glass outside of the room, and it is balls cold in his room because it's December or January, whatever, in Arizona, and it's not warm. It's fucking freezing. He's underneath. He's underneath his bed covers, like this, with the shit over his head, and we're like, "Steve, what happened?" He's like, "What happened? I don't know what happened." We're like, "You got out of bed, dumb fuck, and you hit the window and you broke the window." He's like, "No, I didn't. Nope, I sure didn't. No, it didn't happen. I'm going back to bed." And so we went to bed. So they call the fucking people and everything, the next day, and they come and fix it. He tells them that somebody tried to break into the house, and they fix it. The guy that's fixing the window goes, usually when people try to break in, like the glass is on the inside. It's very weird that it's on the outside, but whatever, we'll fix it. So they fixed it. Right. So now we're at an Italian restaurant. We're celebrating Steve's life. People are giving toasts, and the story comes up. But my buddy tells it, and all his friends from New Lenox go, "Man, Steve always used to tell the story that My Sack Summer did that. Like he fell into the window and broke the window when he was all drunk." And I was like, "You fucking son of a bitch! Like you lied, You're like, oh, he used to bitch about you and you're my buddy Matt all the time. You guys are so dirty. You never cleaned up." And I was like, this dirty bitch. So anyway, we had a great time. It was fun to celebrate my buddy's life. Cheers to Steve. Thanks for listening to me, even though you didn't think I was into sports for the longest time. I appreciate that, and it was fun seeing everybody last weekend, and I hope we do it more and not in sad occasions every time. So this is my cheers to Steve.
Cheers to your friend.
Well,
Summer. Sorry about
your loss, on the flip side. Thank you. We'll see you on the flip side, bro.
So I don't know how I'm going to follow
that
with anything.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say that tomorrow night I'm playing a show. So come see the band. I'm going on right at 7. And this isn't like some bullshit like where bands tell you, "Hey, I'm playing at 7. I'm really playing at 8 just to get people there early." We're legit going on at 7. So you gotta be there.
I'll be up
at
there.
The Blue Island Beer Company. So it's down in Blue Island. Come check it out. The snow's already cleared off. I've guaranteed that the streets are clear.
You plowed it. Teresa drove out there, plowed it. Everything's
absolutely.
Good.
I plowed every street between my house and Blue Island.
Perfectly on the route. Good job.
In a Mazda.
Yes, there's a plow on the front of my Mazda.
Of course there is.
That's how awesome it is. Speaking of My Sock Summer, man, why don't you pay some bills?
All righty. Welcome to February. There's just one thing that Mazda of Orland Park wants to ask you. Will you be our motherfucking Valentine? Listen, the 108 is full of ballers making baller moves. It's true, but buying your girl or a guy a car for Christmas is so last decade. Let's just get to the 20s and start buying each other cars for Valentine's Day. But not just any car. Make it a Mazda CX-30. Designed to inspire creativity with the freedom to go anywhere, the 2022 CX-30 will further those motivations with the standard I-Active all-wheel drive, which enhances the crossover's performance. Already recognized for blending quality craftsmanship, sleek styling, and natural dynamic driving, the new Carbon Edition model is a great addition to the crossover's offerings. The naturally aspirated and turbocharged 2022 CX-30 models will begin to arrive in dealerships soon. The standard CX-30 2.5-liter S features Mazda Skyactiv G 2.5-liter four-cylinder naturally aspirated engine. This efficient powertrain can deliver up to 186 horsepower and 186 pounds per foot of torque with any fuel grade, and is paired with a quick shifting 6-speed automatic transmission with manual mode and sport mode. Standard Active Sense safety features include Mazda radar cruise control with stop and go, smart brake support, high beam control, and lane departure warning with lane and keep assist. Mazda Connect services is complimentary for 3 years, which provides the owner with the ability to monitor and control the state of the CX-30 remotely by logging into the My Mazda app, and includes in-car Wi-Fi spot for all those moments where you need to download porn when you're on a long trip for 3 months, or a 2 gigabyte trial, whichever comes first. So maybe don't download porn in your Wi-Fi spot in your Mazda. The stylish exterior of the CX-30 includes LED automatic on and off headlights, tail lights, and daytime running lights, black rear roof spoiler, gray metallic 16-inch aluminum alloy wheels, matte finish front grille, and a rain sensing windshield wipers. Yes, the wipers that are smarter than King Nam. Happy birthday, Queen Nam. Check out their website at www.mazdaofOrlandPark.com and check out all the details on their awesome line of cars and sports utility vehicles. Make it your resolution to make a trip down to Mazda of Orland Park to take advantage of their $500 off for Sox fans. Give them a follow over at Zoom Zoom Nation, as they are known to give away tickets in Park, home of the Zoom Zoom Nation. 8910 West 159th Street, Orland Park. 708-444-3200. Zoom Zoom.
All right. Now,
that's way too long. I'm sorry. You're right, Fitz.
We got 2 special guests tonight.
Yes.
Nick Murawski and Pat Hester from the Good Guys Talk Back podcast. And before you ask, yes, Pat is Devin Hester's brother. Yep. So let's just get that out of the way. We're not going to talk about that much tonight.
Good idea.
But
I go past that.
Guys, I'm a little worried though, because Beef, you and I both have really, I don't know if we've worked at it, but over the years, kind of lost the Chicago accent.
We've worked hard at it, trying to,
And but
that's how you make it in corporate America. You can't talk like that.
But when we're around guys that have, the good Chicago accent, it starts to come out. So I'm a little worried what I'm going to sound like by the end, because I've been drinking and I'm going to have the accent's going to be coming out. So I'm a little nervous. So we're going to see how this goes, but I'm very excited to have these 2 fellas on the show. Nick, Pat, how you doing?
Wow. Hey guys. Hey now.
Woo.
Thanks for having us. This is fantastic. I kind of feel like Mitch from Old School when he walked into a gangbang. This is awesome.
Well, they're all a little lighter too, so you got to be quicker on your feet. If they're coming after you, these guys, you don't know what's going to happen.
These guys.
So, also, by the way, I'm going to check out the Star Wars podcast, because I'm the Star Wars fan on our show, and I definitely spend at least 3 hours a week with Star Wars content myself, and very little time on the podcast. So.
I'm glad to hear other shows are like that. I'm glad to hear that.
I feel that deep.
I'm usually writing my questions down at about 7:30 when we're recording at 8:30, and feverishly writing them down as I'm putting a 2-year-old to bed. So that's kind of how I roll.
I can feel all that, Pat. So that's a good admission by you.
That's why Nick ends the interview, and you always say you got like 4 or 5 questions left. He knew he didn't want to use those last 4 or 5 in the barrel.
Nick, I know you, but who's this other guy?
Yeah.
I don't know that guy.
Let me set this guy up for you. I'm gonna set him up for you. All right.
I don't know who this guy is. I had a Google search today to find out who he was, and like I couldn't find a good picture of him, so I had to use one where he's like slamming beers in front of his face and shit.
But that's
so Pat, nice to meet you.
That's all my pictures right there. That's family pictures, everything. Where's Pat's face?
High school graduation.
He's the one behind a beer can all the time.
You got a killer voice too, Pat. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, I did.
Mustache ain't good, but the voice is killer.
Pat and I have known each other over 20 years. We went to college together. and
Nice.
and we were broadcasting majors, mass comm majors. We were doing college radio and college TV, and found out that we were diehard Sox fans when we first started getting to know each other, multi-generational Sox fans. And so Pat is an awesome dude. And Pat, tell about yourself, man.
Wow.
You know,
I
yeah.
was gonna kick it to me. Tell us the whole life story. Now, Nick is exactly right. We met in college. It was kind of, and I'm going to do another Will Ferrell like movie reference. It was Step Brothers. When we first met each other, it's like, you're into radio. You like the White Sox. You like the White Sox. Did we just become best friends? Boom.
Yeah.
20 years later, podcast. So it's amazing.
Overnight. Just
Overnight sensation.
Boom.
Exactly.
Slow burn, man.
It only took us
Slow
20 years
burn.
to apply that mass comm degree to make, something where we make no money at to, it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
So speaking of the podcast, tell us about the podcast. What's the format like? What do you guys, who are you having on? What are you doing?
So it started in the off season of 2018 during the winter meetings, and you guys know that off season that was the big Yonder Alonso John Jay off season, big off season. And we thought that was going to be obviously the Machado, Harper, and so it was born just out of just anger and passion. And I think a lot of podcasts. You just want to hear more of your shit, right? Like, you're not hearing your stuff on the radio, or you just you just need some therapy. You got to talk it out. And my wife's like, I can't hear anything more about Ricky Renteria. You got to figure out some outlet for all of this, because I can't hear it anymore. I was almost going to have to move like a little shack outside of the home just so I could have those moments of screaming and venting. So
what did she shed?
yeah, exactly. So the format, we get into the weeds on the Sox. Like, it's very Sox centric. Obviously the name, a play on Good Guys Wear Black, which, when Pat and I were in middle school, those were those teams, when they switched stadiums, switched jerseys, the early 90s. And I'm a guy that lives with every pitch, man. I'm the guy that, like, in April, if the Sox are like 3-0, I'm saying to Pat, I know they can't go 162-0, but can they?
I play the role of Nick's therapist.
That might happen.
Realist on the show.
But if they lose like the first 4 games, I'm like, Pat, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's even worth, watching anymore, because this could be just a dumpster fire. So Pat keeps me level. He is my therapist, but we really get into Sox stuff. And, sometimes our ideas are just in a vacuum. I think they're good. Pat and I, between the both of us, we've consumed a ton of White Sox baseball, but it's nice to have other folks on that are passionate about the Sox, whether they're writing blogs or they've got podcasts of their own, or, they've just got some strong opinions about, Grandal or Moncada or, what have you. It's nice to bounce ideas off and rub shoulders with other Sox fans, so to speak. So that's essentially what it is. It's very Sox centric.
Yeah, and little fact, I was not the original co-host of the show. I kind of weaseled my way in. There was someone prior.
You're the
to
second
me,
wife. You were the second.
Yeah, I am.
Like
I'm the second.
like
Well, okay. So I equate it to. You remember when Ditka got hired as the Bears coach? Before he was hired, he actually penned a note to George Hallis and said, "If you're ever looking for a coach, I'd love to be your coach someday."
Yeah,
and that's what I did. Nick,
coordinator in Dallas.
I kept texting him like, your show's really good, but if you ever need fill in guy, I'll do that for you. And I just pushed the old guy out, and here I am. So
it was clever. It was so damn smart.
And Nick is fantastic. So I will tell you this whole thing, 99.5% of it is all Nick. It's his baby. It's his, pride and joy. I got 4 kids. I can't pour as much into it as Nick does. So I'm just lucky to hang around. That's probably why you don't see me as much or hear from me as much, because it's his thing. And I'm just lucky enough to be on it. Did you also know, here's a little fact for you for trivia. Well, we do have trivia coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
but did you know Nick actually called games for the Sox? Did you guys know that? Yeah,
no,
Nick
well,
told a story about
think
that.
you mentioned that at some
Yeah,
point.
you know,
Maybe not on
you
the
were Beef. You had a good point about alternate broadcasts, and it's starting to happen with the Manning brothers, and there's some other things going on. Well, years ago, when the Sox were still on Fox Sports Net, it was their last year before they switched to Comcast. They had this contest where they were trying to get together an alternate broadcast team that if you hit the SAP button, instead of hearing Hawk and DJ, which I think a lot of people were kind of about the time to get rid of that, you would hear myself, a guy by the name of Eric Collins, who calls games for the Charlotte Hornets now, and a good buddy of mine, Pat Reedy, who was working at Fox Sports Net at the time. And I ended up auditioning. I got the gig. And so for like 10 games in the summer of 2004, which was Guillen's first year, I was going down to the studio and we were watching the feed, but we would be the alternate telecast.
I went with Nick to audition, and I just couldn't stop impersonating Hawk. I just say, "Dadgummit" all the time. And they said, we already have that. We don't need the SAP button. We don't need
an audio.
The guy that's already calling the game.
And this was, so one of the things you had to do, one of your homework assignments for this audition is you had to have your own home run call. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about what would you use as your home run call if you were calling games. So I thought about it for a while. I'm like, you know what? I wonder where baseballs were actually made. And back then, baseballs were made in Costa Rica. So my home run call, long fly ball over, left center field, Costa Rica, get back to work. We need another baseball. And
I love it.
A little edgy at the time, but
a little word salady, but
maybe a little wordy, but original.
It works for SAP,
You should see if you could sell that to Jason Benetti, because I think that's one spot where Jason, he's a little weak. He's a little lacking. He's very good at a lot of things, but the home run calls,
bring him home.
He's had one good call, and that was the "Thank you, Cubs." And that just keep replaying.
Exactly. Just play over and over.
Unfortunately, you can't do that with every team. You can't just say "Thank you, Cubs" every time it's a home run.
Yeah, I should just shout out. He went balls deep. That should be the Benetti call, because coming out of Benetti, it would be so it would
be professional. It would really be a professional. It would be very buttoned up. He went balls deep, and you wouldn't even give it a second thought of like, oh, that's kind of edgy and weird. No, that sounded right. I don't
know if you could segue into Sox math after that, though. He went balls deep. Now let's do Sox math.
Last night's winner. Let's hear what they have to say.
Great segue.
And then it's a half-naked dude in a hot tub. I think it lines up perfectly. Pat.
Only a couple times did I do that. Not too many. My Sox summer. Not everyone gets nude for Sox math like I do. Now I want to pedal back here a little bit, because Pat, you were a little too differential to Nick. You know what? You're on our show. Fuck Nick. Here's what we're gonna do. I want to talk to my co-host that I always talk to all the time. I was listening to a recent podcast, and I felt like Nick was really stifling Pat's creativity. He had an idea. He had a thought.
Oh, man.
And Nick pushed him back immediately. So I wanted to have the 108ers judge the idea, and then we'll see where we're at. So, Pat, what I'd like you to roll out there for us is your idea about Jake Berger and Yohan Moncada. Just flow it a little bit, and let's see.
Before I get accosted, because I've been verbally accosted for this thought. It is not really my thought. I'm thinking what they could be thinking. Okay, so I'm putting myself in what would Sox do to be creative? Because the Sox are never going to spend money. You know that. They're never going to overspend for something as a need to get what they need. So they're going to go, oh, how can we be creative? So they're in the lab. Rick's in the lab right now. He's cooking up something fancy, and he goes, I got a great idea. We got a guy that played second base when we brought him over here. Why don't we just move him over? We got a guy that's tore his ACL 900 times. Bring him on over. He's throwing baseballs. We've seen video of it. It's fantastic. Berger. It's Berger time. So you put Berger at third, you put Moncada at second, and there you go. Problem solved. You got a second baseman. Boom.
Oh, God.
But here's the thing. That's not what I want.
I got our group judge it first.
Beef. First off, Beef. Yeah. You jumped the gun. So My Sox Summer makes these nice graphics, and you didn't let me know that we were going to get into some White Sox. I don't want to lose that graphic. All right,
boy, that's tight.
So,
tight.
I'm going to put myself in timeout for a minute while you do.
So this is the kind of thing that I love because it's not so much just a let's flip these guys. It's really a thought experiment around like what can we do with the current roster if we're not going to spend anything, right? And the Moncada to second base is an interesting idea, and I would say that we should explore it a little bit in a moment. But I want my Sock Summers take on what he thinks about the idea here to talk about this.
I got confused when you said the lab because every time I think of a lab, it's like a dude with like 2 5-gallon drums and a piece of plywood with a sampler, a drum machine, and an old Casio. And like he's in there making beats to sell to his friends on MySpace. Yes, MySpace is still around. Now I don't know. I just can't. I can't. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I know like this all too well. It's the Sox, motion. Like, let's just do this, But I understand why he shut you down. I can understand why you said, hey, maybe we shouldn't talk about this because, like, if you've listened to our podcast probably like a couple times, like Loaf will say something and it will most undoubtedly come true. Like I'm pretty sure he killed Daryl Dawkins. I don't know for sure, but
he was dead before I got into a fight with his widow. Okay.
Yeah, he besmirched the name and then he dropped dead. That's all I know. So it's one of those things. So I understand. And in all actuality, Nick might be saving Pat. That might be what's happening.
He's trying to protect him. Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Look, in the year of 2022, there is no way in hell the White Sox should have one, if not two guys playing positions for the first time at the major league level. So if you're going to throw anybody and if you're going to go into the lab and if you're going to throw anybody at second base, then I guess try to figure out, I'm sorry, Treasy, but try to figure out Vaughn because at least he's had some at-bats at the big league level.
Isn't that a drink?
I don't want to do that.
The rules are not properly when I was in the green
It's not like I want to do that. You think I want to do that? And I want to watch, Vaughn try to navigate through second base and Sheets trying to navigate right field in 2022 in this window. That's insane to me. I get Berger's taking some great reps and he looked like he had a really nice, he had a nice motion and he was throwing and he looked healthy. And he looked neat.
So I've got a little bit of different take here on this. And I like so I don't hate Vaughn playing some more positions, right? I kind of want, like maybe we talk about Vaughn or Sheets being in the minors and Berger being up because you got to figure out what you got with Berger sooner. But I don't want Berger starting every day at third, right? But if every once in a while I want to get him in the lineup when things fit, I could put him at third and move Yohan over to second to play here or there at second base. Literally every other team moves their guys around like this. And like the Sox just refuse to. And the fans agree with the Sox on this, which I don't know why. Because the Sox don't win championships, but these other teams that move everybody around win championships.
But you have a point there where the Sox need to figure out what they have with some of these guys because they have too many guys with question marks, way too many guys, and we can go on and on about the drafting and this, that, and the other. But if they're going to move guys like Berger, because where is he going to actually play with? How is he going to help the White Sox? I don't want him to be overexposed though. So the league kind of figures him out, and they're like, "Well, we know what this guy's all about." That was the good thing that the Sox did with Dunning. I don't think the league figured Dunning out quite yet. So we were able to ship him off for Lynn, which was a great get by us because we needed Lynn to compete right away. I'm worried that some of these guys are going to be overexposed, and like we're not going to be able to get what we want for them. But I get your point of trying guys out, but it can't be an everyday thing.
Listen, if you're telling me, if you give me two choices and it's Leary Garcia, 150 games at second, or Yohan Moncada, 150 games at second, I'm going to take the better player every day, right?
So, the problem is that just moves Leary to third.
It's a crazy, stupid thing to talk about. I understand that, but again, the world I'm living in is if I'm Rick Hahn and I'm trying to think creatively
In the lab.
Yeah. I've got my gloves on, the goggles, the coat. Yeah, there's beakers and there's bubbling things happening. And, wow, this is a great idea. Why don't we do this? And then Jerry will eat it up with a spoon.
One of those big spoons.
Big
that they
big
give for
spoons.
the.
No, Nick, you make a great point there on Berger. He's a weird case though, because he hadn't played in 3 years. Then all of a sudden he's in AAA. He hits. You come to the majors. He looks like he can hit a little bit. I mean, he struck out way too much when he got here, and that was even with them playing him against lefties, trying to play him optimally. But it's still a big comeuppance for not facing live pitching for 3 years. Like, so he's kind of a weird case, like where I agree with you. You don't want to get him overexposed, but also you don't want to trade him and then, oh shit, he was a really good hitter and we didn't realize it because we didn't get enough look. I mean, he's a very odd one. Well,
it's unfortunate that we're in the year that we are, and 2020 I think hampered a lot of things for players. And look, if this was 2018, 2019, I'd say do it. A healthy Berger, let's figure out what we can do with him. But we'll talk competitive windows, I know, in a little bit. But my stance is like there aren't a lot of years left, and in reality, and we're at it to win a World Series
really
this
dark,
year.
By the way,
well, I mean, so hey,
like in general,
I don't disagree.
Like, are you predicting something here on the show?
The window's going to break like my Sox summer.
Nostradamus is over here
it was actually him.
the end of time.
Yeah, I can't have multiple question marks that are taking a lion's share of the reps at different positions that they've never played at the big league level this year.
But totally think Lurie Garcia deserves a bobblehead. That's
of course
interesting. I don't. I guess.
But isn't that a Jerry move though, Summer? Like to give it like a little tip of the cap, or maybe it's Tony. Maybe
Tony
it's
is like
Is Tony making decisions on bobbles?
He's an everyday bobblehead.
What I'm worried about, what I was most worried about, was that they had a press conference to announce Lurie Garcia coming back. I was like, they had a press conference just to say that Luerie's coming back, and they like trotted out his stuff, his numbers and he's been here for 12 years. It's like longest tenured White Sox player, and I'm like, this is fucking embarrassing. Like people are signing all these other people, and we have a guy.
Yeah. Well.
We have a guy in house and we're celebrating him, and you're just like, fuck,
and then they asked Summer. They asked him like, well, what do you think about the signing? Like, were you going to go anywhere else? And he's like, no. I don't know. I was never going anywhere. Like, this was.
I got taking a minor league deal.
Yes, I have a perfectly fine house here. Why do I got to leave? I don't know.
Like, I can't believe we re-signed this guy, and he's like, I wasn't going anywhere.
I'm staying here at bowl every night, every Tuesday night, and Joliet, for crying out loud. I can't go anywhere.
Why is he driving to Joliet?
I don't know. You know what? Because they got one of the nicest lanes in the
he probably doesn't want to get hassled.
All right,
he doesn't want to get hassled up here. It's a smart decision. Yeah,
all the autograph seekers. Like my Sox are trying to get a special bobblehead sign that's going to come out next year.
I'm so glad they signed you. I can't believe you're staying. I was never going anywhere.
That was a nice 7-10 split. Thank you. Can I buy you some wings? They're half off.
So I noticed, guys, that your show is extremely guest driven, and I've been binging it lately. And you've had a variety of people on there, and I think you said you've had like James Fox on there 3 different times. You've had Fegan on there 3 different times. Kind of, what's the prerequisite for guests for you guys? Because I noticed that 2 of the 3 of us have never been on there. Treason?
Yeah.
Summer came on, and it was they released, I think, the second wave of promotional events last year. Was that right, Summer? And I wanted your take on some of the bobbles, and you had some of the items.
Had them.
Yeah, you had some that you were. It's kind of a balance of like, we love getting, like, if we could get beat reporters, like we've had Merkin, we just had Lamont Pope from the Tribune. Fegan's been on. I do love hearing from guys that are in the trenches that have access more than we do as fans to get their perspective. Because again, sometimes I'm saying, well, this makes sense to me. I'm watching the games. I understand. I've seen this before, but I don't really know what's going on behind the curtain, right? Nobody really does until you can get some of those experts in. And I also love talking to folks that are doing this kind of stuff as like a passion project. Like they are putting out their own podcast, writing their own blogs and doing a website and like all for the love of the White Sox. And I love talking to passionate Sox fans, and I want to hear their perspective. I want to hear their takes. And boy, we have met some really awesome people over the years, and have really gotten also, like, if I don't understand, like, we're not metric guys, we're not stat guys, we're like, people are good at that. Jordan Lazowski is awesome at that. He came on and he explained why we shouldn't be hating Grandal with catcher interference.
I had to lay down in the fetal position and suck my thumb after. I'm an idiot.
True.
I don't know anything.
But you have to know, like, when you're beaten, like, hey, this is beyond me. And, all of the numbers, I get there's a place for it, but to have folks that can speak that language and come on and explain to us this stuff that we're just not wrapping our head around, that's good as well.
As long as they're smarter than me, they're welcome. So it's an open door policy in that vein.
So out of the beat reporters, which one do you think has the strongest, like a specific area that they're really strong in? Each of the beat reporters that you have on there. You've had Lamont, you've had Fegan, Merck. Have you had Daryl Van Schouwen?
No.
Okay. So fuck him. He's out. Yeah. The other guys, though, one area they're each really strong.
I say it, Pat. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Merck is fantastic. He's just, he's a veteran. He knows what he's talking about. He's been around it for so long. So I just like his historical perspective and how he's just kind of ingrained, and he's been in the business for so long. Fegan's fantastic too, and he's great. And I love how he, crafts his questions and writes his stories. He's a great writer. So, those two guys are all their guys are great, but those two guys really stand out just because of that, because their craft is so good.
Yeah, I told Fegan when we had a Festivus over at Buffalo Wings and Rings, I told him that he makes love to his blogs, and then I said I fuck mine. So that's like, he just is very good at.
Yeah, he's really gentle.
He's like nice. He's making love to his blogs. And I'm just over there like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to put an apostrophe there. Whatever.
No, he definitely finds things out. And he's a guy that he'll go on for like 15, 16 minutes on an answer, and he'll get really in depth and he'll find his way around it. Scott Greger we had on from the Daily Herald, who's the longest tenured Sox beat writer. And he was a wealth. I didn't realize
that. I didn't realize he was longer than Mark. I didn't realize.
Yeah. And he really was able to, he could talk about obviously like the early 90s and in 2000s. And he's a great reference right now talking about like the lockout of 94 and where we were as a fan base with a very exciting Sox team. And so, those guys provide so much, and if you can get them, and they've been great. Like Lamont Pope, who we just had, couldn't have been nicer, and maybe there's something because there's nothing going on right now, and they just like, somebody asked me a question.
I got nothing to do.
Somebody asked me to say something about the Sox. They're very generous of their time, and we had Chuck came on last summer. He was really nice. I mean,
Chuck is nice. We had him on our
when we had Oni Gian on, we had him on for 55 minutes, which is long. Our podcast usually runs about 40.
Well, it was Junior. 45. It was Ozzie Gian Jr.
Yeah. Is that? We asked him, I think, a combined 2 questions, and he just. I'm serious. Right. I had a list of like 15 questions here ready to go.
But
and
loved his responses. And
then all of a sudden I'm looking like, see, we've been on here for 55 minutes. I haven't asked another question.
And I asked him, like, hey, can you spend 20 minutes with us? Right? Can you spend 25 minutes with us? And he was really appreciative, and man, he went on and it was a wealth of knowledge. I think he's got a lot of great things to say, and anybody that's passionate, I could listen forever.
The last Comiskey guys, we had them on a while back, but they put out some good stuff too.
Have you guys watched that documentary that they put out on the 1990 season, the last year, old Comiskey Park?
I have not.
No, I've not.
Please check it out. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
they have a page, I think it's called Gone But Not Forgotten, and they've got a Twitter handle at Last Comiskey. And it is, I think, a 7 or 8 part documentary. Each episode's 15 to 20 minutes. And it's about the 1990 season, that last year. And I think they're coming out with a part 2, and they go in depth on that year and how great that team was. And
that team made a run at Oakland. That Oakland
absolutely,
team was tough.
A lot of Oakland stuff, a lot of Tony stuff in there.
So talking to them, like anybody that's doing
They're
White
up in
Sox
the comments
stuff.
telling us to watch the documentary.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
We appreciate that. When you come in the comments and body us, that means we got to go watch it. We'll check it out.
I'll squeeze it in between the doing research for the Violet Myers blog and the Sarah J one. I will throw it right in there and see if we can make it happen.
But you guys know this from like doing your live events, from even meeting people at tailgates or at the games, man. When you can get locked in with somebody that clearly is passionate and just wants to talk, and I don't know, there's something that gets you going, right?
100%. And some of the best angles I get for a blog is talking to someone who they don't have their own podcast, they don't have their own blog, they're not into all the stats. They watch all the games and then they tell me, I saw this. And I think to myself, I did not see that shit. I better go back and look. Maybe I missed something. And then you get an angle. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. That's what's great about White Sox fans. There's a lot of passionate fans out there. And if you talk to enough people, you'll start to get a full perspective. You won't look at it just through the lens of your eyes. You'll look at it through the lens of all these people's eyes. And that's where it's at.
Beef, to add to that, I think it's important to actually talk to them though, right? Like I think like long form seems to work better because I think it's easy when someone makes a quick comment on Twitter saying, trust me, I love Twitter and like I'm on there a lot. And I like the back and forth of it and how quick it is and how you can reach people all around the world with it. But sitting and having a beer with somebody or sitting and having a hot dog with somebody at the game and just talking about like what they're actually thinking about when they're watching this game, when they're watching this team is very interesting. And someone's always going to tell you something that you didn't quite think about, And, Nick, you mentioned Ozzie Guillen Jr. and me and Beef were at, it was like White Sox prom. They do that.
It was Sox prom.
Yeah.
It's a season ticket holder event that would be the night before Sox Fest starts. And it was the last Sox Fest before everything shut down.
And we end up at a little table with Ozzie. It's just the three of us. We're just talking. And this conversation, like you guys said, just goes on forever. To the fact that and we were just kind of outside the room. So like at one point, one of our wives came out and was like, where the hell have you guys been? But so we're talking to him and he was talking about, batting average and as soon as someone mentions batting average, when you're talking on Twitter, everyone's like, this is an old stat and all these things. But what he was saying was, I know that it's kind of an antiquated stat, but the fact is that because it's ignored, it's something that could be, a value. You could find a guy who has a really high batting average, and that will push up his OBP, and he's just as good as the other guy, but no one's going after him because he's an all batting average guy, doesn't walk enough type person, which is what we have with Tim Anderson. And Beef wrote about this a while back. That would have never come out in a tweet. Like that, it wouldn't have worked in a tweet. It would have got blasted in a tweet. But it makes sense if there's a stat that's being undervalued, and you can grab guys that are actually just about as good as this other guy, but you could get them for $3 million less because the thing that they're best at, people devalued.
Yeah,
it's what Billy Beane was doing in 10 years ago
in Moneyball. Yeah,
that's a great point. I mean, when Pat and I, were in college and we would go watch games on Friday nights, Saturday nights, go to the bar. It's like I kind of call our podcast like Tavern Talk, where you would just sit at the bar and nobody had smartphones. Nobody was buried in Twitter and live tweeting and anything. It's just like you watch the game and you would dissect, an at bat or a pitching sequence, and then you would kind of bitch and moan about what could happen. And it didn't live here. It was definitely a slow burn type of thing. And that's what we kind of want to get back to. So if I do see some kind of comment or some kind of thread on Twitter, well, I might reach out to that person like, hey, would you mind coming on and talking about it? Some people aren't interested, they don't want to articulate that. They want to live in that universe and just keep it there. But there's a lot of people that do want to, and because they're knowledgeable and passionate, and we like to have those conversations.
Well, it's funny because Nick, in those conversations we'd have at those bars, usually we were told to leave after a while when we'd get in these arguments with Cubs fans about
that's true.
Whose stadium is better and
who
has better uniforms, and then we were told you guys have to go because you're yelling at people over a stadium, and that was how most nights ended. So
that's Pat speaking the truth, man. And I'm also like, years ago I had a short fuse, man. If somebody said something
years ago or like, was this
okay, all right. if somebody badmouthed Sox Park or wanted to badmouth the Sox, I'm telling you, that's why I had to go to bars with multiple people, because they got me out of jail a lot of times and out of the hospital a lot of, because I would pop off against anybody, no matter the size of them. You just feed me some drinks, and I was defending
WWE, like the pointing came out and the stance came out.
I would
tell
be
you
pointing,
brother.
Well, you know something,
Mean Gene was coming in. It was
that was bad. So I've tried to calm down a little bit, but the passion's still there. The fire's still there. You can't cage this dragon.
No. That's why you got the mustache, so for a little extra protection.
The mustache has got a little glove.
It's got some fight to it.
It does. Yeah, I've been, What was his tell? What did you have to wait for? What did Little Mac have to?
It was
Von Kaiser would like shake his head, right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Eyebrows on one of the guys, like the eyebrows would go up.
That's one would twitch their nose. Yeah. I know that. You had to wait for it. No,
I got one last question on your podcast, and then I'll let the guys, if they need to finish up, one more thing. What have you not done on your podcast yet that you really want to do? So there's a lot of podcasts out there.
That is a broad question.
Yeah, no, they have room to do a lot of things. And
your lab, Pat.
I've been binging, and your guys' approach, from what I could tell, is guest for about half.
Yeah.
And you guys riffing for about half, which is terrific. I love the part when you're riffing. Everyone does the guest thing, but when you guys are going back and forth, that's some good shit, in my personal opinion. I'm sure your listeners like what they like, but what I like is when you guys are going back and forth at the end. What's something that you want to do or want to put in that format that you haven't done yet?
Well, we don't always have guests. Sometimes, like, I don't try to force it. If it's not working out, like, it's got to be organic sometimes. But Pat and I can fill, hour plus just talking. Like, we'll have a skeletal outline, and Pat always is like, oh, and you were going to be worried that we weren't going to be able to fill. Pat and I can talk forever about the White Sox, past, present, and future. One thing that I really want to do, and we're big about this year, is we want to do a live show. We want to get out there and we want to do a live show. We've been really pushing the envelope. We want to get out there and do some tailgating at Lot B too, have a little bit more of a presence, but we want to do a live show where we're, kicking the tires on some partners to maybe do that. But hopefully when the weather's nice, a nice beer garden, do a live show, and then folks stick around and watch the Sox and join us for a little watch party.
I just want people to buy me drinks. So wherever like I can go, or somebody goes, I'd love to do that. Let me buy you a drink. I'll, like 3 of my followers would show up, and it'd be fantastic.
That's enough, man.
Someone buy you some drinks. You come and experience the 108, man. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you.
That's how the drinks are bought.
Some of them come from the bathroom. Be careful of those.
Well, you guys are located right by a bathroom over there.
That's one of the best perks of that seating area. But Nick, I have a question for you. So, if you were to host a live trivia event, where and when would you host that live trivia?
Great question.
Wow, I hope you thought about this, Nick.
I have a wonderful lead into this. I've thought about it, and it's going to happen. March 10th, March 24th. Hopefully the weather's a little better, no snowstorms. In an area that you're going to be visiting tomorrow in Blue Island at the lovely Rock Island Public House. It's a great venue. They've got outdoor area too when the weather cooperates, but it's a nice, cozy Southside bar. And Pat and I are going to be hosting live White Sox trivia. Come play on your own, form a team. I am handcrafting these questions. It's going to be, yeah. This isn't just copy and paste off of some GD website, what
like
number
my
did
ad
Frank?
reads?
Yeah. Wait.
That was smooth,
that
by
was-
the way.
Yeah, that was smooth. That
I
was
almost went out and
silky.
bought a Mazda for crying out loud.
I'm definitely going to test drive one.
Might get
and
pregnant.
download
Be
porn at the
careful.
same time. Can I download porn and test drive this Mazda? I heard it on a show.
It was a choppy read. I might not have heard it all.
Somewhere I heard this.
And the guy's like, "You're a Sox fan, huh?" Okay.
We're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I used to get really into bar trivia years ago when I was living up in Uptown on the North Side, and there were some great bars that did. I was loyal to it. I'd be going out every week, and I've never had like an all sports themed. It's usually just a mixed bag of a bunch of different trivia stuff. So the fact that we can kind of bring a Sox one, and the hope is that it leads into opening day, right? Which is supposed to be the 31st, but we'll see. We'll see.
And it's going to be like when Ben Stein's money. Nick has promised to bring a bundle of his own cash and give it away to the winner. Is that
it's a bunch of old Comiskey
Am I
cash
misremembering
that I've got laying around. Yeah, it still works, I'm sure.
Counterfeit. Yeah.
It's all
spitball? It's still in the spitball stage.
You
It's
got
a
the
lot
good,
of-
you got
we
the
doing-
good printer, and you're able to counterfeit.
Yeah, it's a lot
That's
of
what we do in
Billy
our
Gear.
lab. We counterfeit Comiskey cash.
You guys got some extra Comiskey cash you're not using, right? We can throw in there.
We have
Yeah, toss
Comiskey
in the
cash, and then I have a shitload
Nick-
of like plus size T-shirts and
Oh,
sweatshirts
I need
that I
those.
can let you
Wonderful.
borrow. So
Yeah.
Nick, when you were talking about it on the podcast, I don't know if it was this past one or the one. I think it might have been the one with Sean Anderson.
Mhm.
And you were it's at the end of the episode. You're talking about it, and like you're like, I'm not going to do too much from like the 1900s or the 1910s, but and I'm just thinking to myself, if I go to this, will I get one fucking answer right? And I don't think I would.
The answer's
No, you
I
will,
host
man.
a Sox podcast, and I go over.
No, it's I got to make it difficult though. I'm a printed word nerd. I've got like the yearbooks, I've got the magazines, I've got every media guide since in the year I was born, and I go through those media guides to get a lot of the questions, man, and then I'll double check it on some trusted websites. But we
Not just any website, a trusted one.
trusted.
How do you know if they're trusted?
my Sox summer Wikipedia funded.
You're welcome.
you could tell. You log onto a
You can tell.
website, you could tell. If
No,
there's-
it says on the top trusted.
If the grammar isn't correct in the
trust
first
it.
few lines, something's going on here.
Then it's from the 108.com.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not trusted.
If there's a blog about Rob Lowe giving Quaaludes to the Lakers, followed by Sarah J being a White Sox fan, then you're definitely on a reputable, trusted.
Right
website.
area.
You're in the right spot.
That's right. Where
No
you
need
should
to go anywhere else. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, come out and join us. We're gonna have a good time, and it should be fun. Nick's got obviously impossible trivia questions that I won't even be able to answer as the co-host.
Here's going to be a cool part to it. There's going to be a picture bonus round where I found like all of these, just photos of old baseball cards through the years, and I blacked out the name, and so you're going to have to just by visual, recognition, some of the numbers
I like
too.
it.
Who these players are, and I went to the way back world, not so much the 1910s or 20s because the cards were hard to find, but a lot of 80s, man, a lot of 90s, some 70s in there. It's going to be a good time.
That's great.
That sounds awesome, man. That sounds awesome. I do have a baseball question for you guys, though. So
I didn't know we were going to be asked baseball questions.
hold on
on
a
this
second.
podcast.
it's kind of a baseball question. Let's say
Kind of.
tomorrow you were to buy the White Sox. Who's the first person you fire?
Whoa, Nick, do you want to go first on this?
You go first, Pat.
Oh,
You go first.
mercy. Well, I don't want to name people by names to be.
You can cut people too if you want. If that feels
well,
better.
I'm not happy that I can't get my favorite beer in the ballpark as easily as I used to be able to. So that's a problem.
Oh gosh. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
But I don't want to. I don't want to go down that path of destruction. So, boy, who would I fire first? I don't know who you fire. Well, okay, all right. Let's talk about the people that want to take away Thunderstruck. During whoever made that decision to okay, I understand you want to get younger and fun and play different music. Just pander to me. I'm here. Right?
You own
the average age of a baseball fan, I just said on our show the other day, is 56. All right, I'm 40. All right, just play Thunderstruck for me every game.
You're young.
That's all I want.
You're a young man.
That's all I want in life. I don't need
Sox Nerd fired. You fired Sox Nerd.
Sox Nerd's definitely getting
Oh
fired.
man.
No, he doesn't do the music, does he?
No, I know.
No, but he's definitely responsible for the beer.
Maybe a stern talking to. Let's lay out. This is my 7 reasons why this needs to be done the way I think it should be done, and several PowerPoints done, and boom, here you go. You got you get back to Thunderstruck happening every time, and you got to have na hey goodbye, and you got to bring
yes.
So whoever made the decision to get rid of Nancy Faust, that person should no longer be.
They might not be there anymore. They might have left themselves.
So mine is not on the field because I'm not going to. I don't have no.
That was a bad
in the
choice.
Second year of Tony, I don't have any on the field that I want to get rid of. It's the people that are the experience of the old man here. Like I'm walking in, I want to get the beer I want to listen to Nancy, and I want to hear Thunderstruck. That's what I want in my experience of the day.
So first off, did Nancy Faust get let go? I don't think she did. I think she retired.
Well, you're on a razor's edge,
Faust.
man. You're towing the line here on.
You know what Pat's saying? He's saying they didn't offer enough money to stay, and so that's why she chose. So it's that person's fault, regardless.
I think let her walk away.
Organist emeritus. That's what you got to do.
She got the Olin Kreutz. She got
Olin
Kreutz.
$10 an hour.
I think it's just they decided to do more of the computer generated music, and her thing didn't fit in anymore, which is a damn shame. I would also have a conversation whoever got rid of the Pirates of the Caribbean intro, and I would say, excuse me, what did you do with that? Can we just bring it back and add some modern clips? I'd like some actual paper tickets. These are old. These are. I should have. I got a lot of problems with you.
This is a Dr. Rick commercial. Everyone has paper tickets.
Okay. Hey, I
Holy
got one.
Shit.
I got one. I got one player personnel, and this is going to draw a lot of problems from some people I know. You know who they are.
Let's go.
I would tell Zach Collins, this has been fun. This has been really. This has been interesting. Okay. I would somehow get rid of him. Get him out of there, and I don't know.
Can he be reassigned to beer?
I would ask him to figure out Zach, we got a project. Can you get this Pirates of the Caribbean thing back up and running? We really need you on this, guy. You're our buddy on this. We need you on this. If you could also figure out the organ, that would help us out too. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
We got a problem in the parking lot. People are scamming things out there. Can you go out there and monitor?
He's like Jackie
monitor.
That's his assignment.
I mean, I feel that Zach Collins won, but I almost feel like we should fire whoever is keeping Zach Collins there.
Right.
Like someone's really dropped the ball on this one. It's almost Milton like from Office Space. Like they stopped paying him, but like they're still letting him show up every day and play.
Yeah, but what was he was
still hungry.
He was a
He's
top 10
hungry.
pick, right? Well, what pick was he for the Sox, if I'm not mistaken?
No, I think he was 11. He's
11.
I think he's right up there. Yeah,
okay, so he's close. They're going to give him every opportunity to fail, and I think this is his last opportunity to fail. This has got to be it. I mean, my goodness gracious, if he's still around after this year with his big looping swing with no power that I was told he was supposed to have, my goodness, get the hell out of here. So I'm with you. If I can fire somebody, it's Zach Collins. But
hey, no lies detected in that.
The beer I want, and I want to hear Thunderstruck, and I want Nancy Faust back. So
what's the beer that you?
We know what the beer is. We know what the beer is.
Well, so little.
I don't know.
I've been in the beer business for 16 years.
Well then, okay.
So that's
So I currently work for a company, Mike's Hard Lemonade, and White Claw is the beer of choice, even though it's not technically a beer. So that's the world I'm living in. But
okay, well, all I'll say is, it's still found in the park, and it's very close to the 108. So when you're stopping by, you can go grab one of those. Look at that.
There's Papa G in
Papa
the
G
house.
is checking in, baby.
Oh boy.
And by the way, you
What's
can
up,
drink
Mr.
old beer,
Giolito?
by the way, as long as it's in a can and it's been cold, you're good.
Pat, baby, thank you, my
Okay.
friend. Thank you.
All right,
Tell my
the
sock
born on
sucker, you don't
dates,
know what's up.
that's myths and legends. As long as it's
not a
not
myth.
Tastes
years old, you're
delicious.
good to
The beer
go.
tastes great.
Okay?
It's not a myth, and it's not a legend. Oh,
if-
my
if
Is
it's-
that, is that like putting expiration dates on ketchup? Like, it's
Yes,
not really,
they just want you to go get more. I'm
Gotcha.
telling you,
All right.
industry
Oh, I
secret.
don't agree
canned
with that at
beer,
all.
if light doesn't penetrate it and it's cold, you can drink.
So everybody
old
needs an
beer.
actual old timey cellar, like kind of a monk type
Yes,
of thing,
yes.
like
What I realize
underground.
happens is, like, I do a beer thing. My sock summer bodies me, and then the real beer people come and defend my ass. I love that. All right, when I pour and it's all the foam and everything, the beer guys defend me. That's fine, no problem.
Now there is
no
a
big
point
deal.
you need to walk away from it. I mean, if it's been sitting there for way too long, I mean, you have to let it go. Open up.
Pat
open it
knows
up,
what he's
pour it down the
talking
drain.
about, man. He really does. He's a smart dude with that.
Well, I don't know if I'm a smart dude.
You're a dude. Hey, you're a dude.
Consumed a
man.
lot.
Hey, you know
sold a
some
lot.
things.
The Jake Burger thing, a little iffy. The rest of it's been really good. Though.
Again, I have to tell you, it's not my idea. It's just I'm thinking. What
I
they're
love that you're
thinking.
now not even taking ownership for it anymore.
It's
You're
like,
just like,
he's backing
"Whoa,
away.
hey,
slowly
man,
on
I
that
just
idea.
saw
I
it
told you,
here.
Nick.
I
I
just
told you
saw
that
it
a long
here.
time ago. Nobody
I
wants
know.
to listen to it. Oh, Pat said this. It must
Oh,
be
you
a good idea.
You see,
there
it
it is.
shows up.
There it is.
The
Don't
body
get
me
on
that
YouTube.
Dylan Cease have a great year. He messed with me. He told me, and then Dylan Cease did have a great year. I'm an idiot. Rick Giolito knows what he's talking about. That's obvious.
Man, Rick's
I think
got
we
a
knew that
great
before
profile
any of
pic.
this.
My God. Man,
Rick
it's
Giolito's
stellar.
smarter than Beef Loaf. Confirmed.
We're making the shirt. Print
Everyone
the
knows
shirt.
that. Everyone
Print
knows
the
that.
shirt.
My sock summer. Do you have any questions for these fine
You
gentlemen?
know what? They basically kind of went over it with what they want to do. I was just gonna say dream guests besides me because they've already had me, so like they would all be second tier. But
Yeah, I like it.
we don't
Good
need
call.
to like.
No, let's make
clusterfuck
him
this
go down the
anymore.
path. Go ahead. No, I like.
No,
this question.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. What I want to do though
okay.
is
No.
Dad. Nick's gonna be a dad soon, and
Yeah.
Pat, you're a dad already. And you probably given Nick some advice here or there. The big thing I want to give you, Nick, is the advice that I thought to myself before I was going to have my first kid. And I was at an advanced age also. I'm not saying that you're old. I'm just saying you're older. But I was like,
with 40-year-olds, that's like an advanced age. Like they're
Yeah.
like 90.
I think I was in my late 30s. I'm not exactly sure. All my friends had like a ton of kids already by the time I had kids. And
I'm with you.
I was sitting there going, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Am I going to be, young enough to keep up? And I'm not, but that wasn't what I thought of then. I thought of this, and this was what I thought of, is I thought of the worst people that I knew that were fathers, but that were actually really good fathers. Like they were bad people, but they were a good dad. And I'm like, man, this person is horrible. He's just a horrible person. He does bad things, but he is a fantastic father, and he's really good at it. I go, so it's probably not that hard to do it. And it's not. Like, it's just mostly natural stuff, but you figure it out, like it comes natural, and Pat will help you too. Like he can probably bounce a lot of ideas off him. He's got 4 kids. He's probably made 3 mistakes, and he's got one good one going.
Newspaper down.
Just tell him the one
put a
thing.
bowl of food out. See what
It's
happens.
It's really not that. It's really not
Can
that
I
hard.
say something as the
Yeah,
guy who
go ahead.
doesn't have any kids? But I think I got to interject here because, and Beef, maybe you'll back me up on this.
All right, let's see.
But my sock summer just throws out there, oh, it's not that difficult. It comes natural. Yet he acts like it's the fucking hardest thing ever.
Like he's
Whenever
moving mountains to do this shit. Like
If I were to ask him to make one more graphic for this, he would have been like, oh my God, let me tell you about the past 67 hours.
Nick,
and how
Well, he
hell
did say
that's
at the
broken
beginning
loose.
that there
Nick and
was
Pat,
a
you
snow
guys
day
have
or an off day today, and it ruined his entire life.
It ruined his whole day.
Crazy.
Nick and Pat, you have
Bad.
no idea. He steals all the dad valor on this podcast. I'm also a father. My daughter's 12. I was just helping her with the math homework, which was some shit that would make my socks over his fucking head spin. But I was able to handle it and handle a career. I don't talk about any of that stuff. All I'll tell you is my one thing, Nick, just from meeting you a little bit, and general advice I would give to a dad: be patient. Just always be patient with the kids.
That's going to be
wife,
a problem.
everything.
Yeah.
Always be fucking patient.
That doesn't happen. Sometimes like crazy shit
gonna have to
dad
work on
comes
it,
out.
kid.
It's like you freak out.
White
Freak
Sox.
out moments are okay. You have to do that, or else you're going to jump out of a window. So maybe that's because I live in a house with 4 kids. But you'll be fine. You just call me, and I'll tell you that it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I will call you.
It's honest.
Believe me, this part
I'm
is the easy part.
Hey, I'm excited. I don't know what I don't know, but I'm telling you guys, I'm more concerned about what's going to happen with this team than I'm going to be calling you, Pat, about what the hell's going on here with Keuchel. He can't get out of the 3rd inning again. Oh yeah, the baby's fine, everything's good, but Keuchel is going to be a real thorn in my side this year.
Nick,
That's how it's going to go.
Texting me that, but it'll be at like 2 a.m. because you just got up, you changed a diaper, and you're like, I really have a problem with Keuchel's performance earlier yesterday.
I got to be honest. I'm with Rick Giolito here.
I hope he does, man.
I think they're going to get a little bounce out of Dallas.
I hope he has a bounce. I really do. I'm worried though, but I worry about everything. So,
and I'm going to just tell you right now, Brewhan Luke, please do not badger Mr. Giolito with questions of like getting stuff for you. He doesn't have time to get you a Dylan Cease disc golf, you dumb fuck. Please don't do that. You are a representative of the 108. Do not ask for free stuff from Rick while he's in the comments.
You figure out what you could give Rick. You figure out ways you can help Rick. Right?
And then when you've done so much for Rick, he says, "Hey, what can I do for you, Luke?" Then you say, "Hey, you know what? If it can happen, maybe you get me a disc golf from Dylan Cease." Like, I'm just saying, like, it's just, dude, you can't just come out and say that. You got to earn that shit.
Yeah.
God damn it, Luke.
Yeah. All right,
we have to have
earning
a
shit. We're gonna earn some YouTube views right here by showing this beautiful beef loaf commercial.
Oh, okay.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on a live stream right now and haven't subscribed, make sure you tickle the undercarriage of that subscribe button and get on board. If you've already subscribed and are watching the show, talking smack about MSS's internet and generally meat gazing at Treasy E and I, please smash that like button in the face. If you are listening on the podcast feed and have never enjoyed the eroticism that is the YouTube version of this show, come to youtube.com/fromthe108 and hit that subscribe button. Our previous goal was 1,000 subscribers. We're currently at 1,100 plus. That's going to allow us to make minimum wage for about 1 hour per month if we do a full podcast schedule. You just can't beat that. So get your friends, your family, your dog, everyone to subscribe and allow the 108 to fulfill the dream of becoming YouTube thousandaires. I love you.
Was that Danny DeVito as the penguin picture that I saw?
How dare you? How dare you?
That was beef.
Man, I'm a foot taller than you. How dare you?
I mean, just the way, the look, and that.
Very Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah.
Easy on the nose, all right? I know where you were going with that, Pat.
No, it was less about the nose.
I got a big nose. It is what it is. I can't do
about
nothing
the
about
nose.
that, all right?
It was the monocle he was wearing. He looked like Mr.
It was all the
Peanut, but
buckles.
much fatter.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little bit of mess out there for the taped ad read.
Yeah, because it's fucking lame,
Yeah.
bro.
Oh man, I love the taped ad read. And by the way, for anyone who's wondering, he said eroticism properly every time that we recorded that. So that wasn't why we needed multiple takes. It was all the other words he couldn't say. But we're getting into White Sox talk part 2. And man, is it perfect
That's a great
that
graphic.
Rick Giolito's up in the comments. Because we're going to talk about the Giolito line.
Oh,
What
I
we're
love
calling
I
the
love
Giolito.
Yep.
Who doesn't?
Too. This whole show loves
that's why-
Giolito. The whole fucking fan base loves Giolito.
Yes.
That's why there's such an important demarcation in our upcoming years, which is after the 2023 season, Lucas Giolito and Yasmani Grandal are free agents. So I want us to kind of look at the competitive window. What are we doing in 22, 23? And then how do we plan for 24 and beyond? So let's start by, we've got these guys through this year and next. What are we doing to not only make this work, make the competitive window work, but move that further out, build that into something that, it's not like after 23, it's all gone. Right. So I'll start with Pat, because I feel like no one's going to Pat first. Let's get his take first. Let's see where Jake Berger.
Nobody goes to Pat first. It's like, oh, the losers here.
I feel like I listen to the podcast. Nick's over there with the guest. He doesn't even want to talk to you.
That's 100% accurate.
I see
the
pitching
wanna
coach
talk to you,
going
Pat.
to the lab.
Don't
and
be offended.
how do I
I'm
make the
interested.
best Pearson?
All right.
Go
So
for
what are
it,
you
Pat.
asking me there? I forgot. I lost track here.
So what are we first up? What are we doing for 2022 and 2023 to try and win? Because this is the competitive window is shrinking.
Well, it's the competitive window is always, in peril, right? It's like, it's always dependent on who's going to be healthy, right? We experienced it last year with health. And then it's like, oh, you get into the playoffs, but you didn't experience it with fans, or you didn't experience this. So everything's like a stepping stone. So how many more stepping stones can we have before you run out of stones and then you're off the cliff? So in my opinion, I get where we're coming from with Giolito and Yasmani and Grandal in terms of, let's look at this competitive window. It'll end if we don't sign them. I get all that. It was a fantastic, blog by Beef, and I loved it. Okay. But I also look at the young talent we have on the offensive side in the lineup that can extend that window and maybe bridge the gap. So yes, if we don't sign Giolito, it will be, and we don't bring Yaz back, and who knows what Yaz is going to be. His health has been
He's going to be
question,
old,
right? And his knees in
Right.
2 years could be shot. He may not be the guy he is now. He may not be the guy he was, even this past year. So I think it could be, yes, your window to really win is now. It may falter back a little bit, and you might come back to the pack a little bit. But then depending on what they sign and what they have coming up through the system, you're still competitive because of the young guys you've signed for long term. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we've got Moncada, we've got Robert, and we've got Aloy all locked up for, several years, right? I don't know the contracts right off the top of my head, but I think they're longer than Giolito, and I think they're longer than Yaz are.
27, I think, is the
So they're all
he's the last one.
friendly. So I think if you have those three guys, you're still going to be competitive. You're not going to be a dog shit team, in my opinion. So yes, the time to win is now, and the window to win a World Series is now. But you can maybe navigate your way through some times when you might not necessarily be the favorite in your division, but you can still be knocking on the door and be a competitive team through those, leaner years until you figure out your pitching staff again. Because Lance Lynn's not going to be here, in that after 2 years, right? He's already shown that he's aging, his health, all that stuff. So, and the one thing I take back is this organization has always been able to bring up and develop pitching. Now, whether that was, Coop's going to fix them type of stuff, don't know. Or if that was just the way the organization has always run through, the minor league system and up through the major league. So my hope is that young guys continue to filter through the system, and we have pitchers that are going to take places of other guys that move on. But I'm not as, I don't think it's as dire of a situation as we got to win now, or else it's done, and we're going to be back in another, 5-year rebuild.
So Pat, you brought up something there that's interesting to me, and I actually just recently wrote a quick blog on this because I was just thinking about, if you keep Kimbrel, right? Like, let's say we can't trade Kimbrel this year, right? So now you've got kind of 4 guys at the back of the bullpen with Hendricks, Kimbrel. You signed Graveman. You've got Bummer, and Crochet becomes kind of like your 5th guy out of the bullpen. And now he's a I think he's a number 11 draft pick as well, right? And so is that what you want with your number 11 overall draft pick? Or do you think let's put him down in the minors this year and see if we could convert him to a starter? Because if you want to maximize what you get out of Crochet, and as you said, we need to start building up some young pitching to replace the guys when Dallas Keuchel's gone, when Lance Lynn's gone. Like, who do we got, and are we going to spend a ton of money to backfill that?
I think that has to be determined 100% because Garrett, his velocity was down this year, right? It was not touching 100 plus. It's still very good, but
but not like
harder than I can throw, somewhat.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly, it was still harder than I could throw. So I think if you want to really turn him into a pitcher, now's the time to do that and get him into the rotation. I think that's why they drafted him. I don't think they drafted him that way to be in the pen, but because of his velocity, he was such a weapon there that they kept him there. But his velocity was down, so maybe it's a time to go. If we're going to keep Kimbrel, which I don't know that that's the case. It was very weird for Rick to say we're going to trade this guy. That was very un-Rick wise. So maybe he's doing some the lab, doing some reverse psychology stuff.
Makes it hard to trade someone when you tell everyone you want to trade them.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah,
so maybe it's like that's his way of saying we're not who knows. So that's an interesting thought, though. I think that's not a bad thing as long as the plan is to continue to replenish the bullpen. And my thing on bullpens is you can't count on bullpen guys from year in and year out. It's so erratic. You can't. Some guys are like a Liam Hendricks. You can pretty much take to the bank on.
But they're rare. Those guys are rare.
Yeah, they are rare. And even look at Bummer. Bummer, unfortunately, in the beginning of the year he couldn't find the plate. The back half of the year he had the worst luck I've ever seen of anybody. Pitching in a White Sox uniform that I can remember. So. It's an interesting thought. I like the thought. If you're going to keep Kimbrel, then yes, I wouldn't have a problem trying to convert Crochet into a starting pitcher.
Man, Nick, what are you looking at when you're looking at 2022, 2023?
Nick's head just exploded. He's like, I don't agree with anything.
First things first, when this lockout finishes, and hopefully it's soon, the Sox have to have they needed a plan 2 months ago of where they're going to go immediately, and they need to get premium talent in the holes, and we're looking at second base, we're looking at right field. You're going to have to get some innings for your starting pitching, and the Sox for these 2 years need to learn how to spend premium money for premium talent. Don't try to figure it out on a sweetheart deal, or, we're going to try to, make this work with chewing gum and, tape and paper clips. And we'll figure this out. We'll sell it to the fans. We'll sell it this way. No, find the guy that you want and pay him the damn money.
Hawk's not there to sell it to us anymore, by the way.
So if
the best team I've ever seen in my life.
Carlos Rodon is gone. I don't see him coming back. So that means this starting rotation this year has zero homegrown talent. Now, Lucas, we love Lucas, and he's almost the closest to homegrown talent as there is for us. And my thing with that is, here's a guy that's going to be a free agent in a couple of years, and we know what his worth is. Hopefully the organization knows what the worth is, and they understand that, and they don't try to cheapen a deal. They don't try to do it on Jerry's terms. I feel like that's what the Machado thing was. It's like, okay, maybe in the end it was a more lucrative deal, but that's not what he wanted. Okay. You tried to give him something he didn't want, and he told you from the beginning he didn't want it that way. So give Lucas a fair deal, premium money for premium talent. Because if you don't, then you're telling the fan base, well, we're not prepared to spend money on any of these guys then that could be coming up to free agent anytime soon. And, I look at Pat and I talked about the John Danks deal not too long ago, and we hit the 10-year mark of when that big John Danks extension came. And that, in my mind, is the last time that the White Sox went out and extended a talent of theirs. They gave him a 5-year, $65 million deal. It didn't go right.
He got hurt.
He got hurt. You know,
What are
it
you gonna do?
it didn't go right. But have you experienced anything as a fan over all these years to give you a sense of comfort of like, oh yeah, the Sox are going to do this. They're going to spend money and keep Giolito around. I can hope and pray and wish, you know, but I like to go off of like proven record, and I haven't seen that. So the Sox have been really good about, you know, getting guys in, getting them to sign an extension early on, you know, and then maybe letting them walk. I hope not. Internationally, they've been doing outstanding. Some great talent coming in.
Disagree.
You know, I think internationally,
I think they do terrible.
They produce nothing, basically. I mean, like,
well, I mean, Robert, you know,
yeah, well, they paid $50
like,
million.
Like nobody knew about Luis Robert.
Everyone
paid
knew that guy.
for that guy.
But how did they get Robert?
Highest bidder, whoever the highest bidder was.
Yeah,
and they were
I mean,
lucky that they got in the spot where the other teams, the major markets, were already in the penalty box. They couldn't bid against them, and it was like them and the Cardinals. I mean, like he was a well-known talent, is what I'm saying. You know, like,
How did they get Abreu?
They were the highest bidder.
Okay, so like they took a path. The Sox took a path. There's like, okay, well, we might not be spending on the market, you know, for, you know, MLB talent, but we're going to go this path.
What about Diane Viciedo
Or Alexi Ramirez?
Well,
I mean,
just kidding.
I think that
that joke didn't land apparently.
It doesn't exist anymore.
but those are the guys that we're clamoring over. It's like Robert, Aloy, you know, Abreu's hanging on. You know, we'll see what Colas is and Cespedes. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks, but in terms of 20,
that's part of the problem though, is like those guys are already old, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's not much room for them to get there. Like
so they got to produce right away.
Like what guys are they discovering? And they're not discovering anyone. And
Norge Vera.
That's the problem.
That could be a guy.
If he is, right? Like, and I think
but
that's the thing. We haven't seen it. We've seen them discover really one guy. I don't want to say what they did with him because they traded him, but other than that, like they haven't
good.
really
He's
produced. And the thing that too is they don't go in and get a bulk amount of guys. And like we were talking about this a few years ago when they were in the penalty box, and you're going against San Diego is also at the same time in the same situation. San Diego went, we'll just get a bunch of guys at the minimum, which is all we can spend. And they loaded up on those guys. And those are the guys that they're using in trades now. We did not do that. Yeah. So the Sox don't have those guys. No trade chips. I agree. They went hard and got those big guys. And they've been getting the older guys at the highest, you know, they're bidding above and getting these older guys that are kind of a little bit more known commodity. But like they got to start hitting on some of these because there's just there's not depth.
Going back to what we talked about earlier, it's figuring out, you know, what do you have in Adolfo? What do you have in Berger? Nothing. And then you have to make the realization, instead of keeping them around, you got to make a move on some of these guys.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Move it along. And to the crochet point, it's like, that's a smart idea that Pat has got. So then like pick a lane with that. If you are going to stretch him into a starter, then make that decision. I'm hoping that the folks that do make those decisions, you know, the brain trust that get together and have plans that, you know, that they're smart plans, because the waffling around of like, well, maybe we'll see what this guy does, or we don't have time for that. We absolutely don't.
Yeah.
And
agreed. And Adolfo is going to be cut in the next, I mean, as soon as the lockout ends, right? I mean, like, unless you're putting him on the team, there's no options. He plays right field or plays in the Frontier League. I mean, like, those are the two options, right?
and that's kind of sad, because that could have been something a couple years ago, right? Like if they looked themselves in the mirror, the Sox organization, and said, you know, we got to make some hard decisions here. We have too many players that play the same position. We've got to package these guys up because we're not spending right on talent. So we might as well trade to get talent to fill these holes. And that's the sad thing.
Yeah, no, Nick, I think you're right. And Pat, I think you're right too. And
Wow.
my biggest
I'm right. Hold on, I'm gonna write
biggest
that down.
thing here,
9:34.
the biggest thing here is, are the Sox going to do what it takes to win? And that's the biggest thing. There's no reason to lock up a Lucas Giolito to a long-term deal if you're going to stop paying for talent, or you're not going to try to win now. I mean, I would like to have him here as long as he wants to be here. And if what Rick is saying is true in the comments, he don't want to leave. He would be a nice cornerstone to have on this team until he doesn't want to play. I'll take that. But if you're not going to put anything around him, what they're going to try to do is just sign him for a good price and then ship him off like Chris Sale, or do something, and restart this thing. No, he won't.
He's not going to take a good price.
Because
he's
a
smart man.
He's going to get
He's
market
not
value.
going to. You're 100% right, and I think there's a lot of factors that play into that. We don't need to talk about them. But the thing that I like, they have to win now. And what has been very frustrating is that we have gone down this goddamn road where we're going to be cheap, we're going to save money, under the guise that later, when the time comes and we need to, we will overspend on somebody. And that's the time is fucking right now. I was very disenfranchised watching these deals go down right before the lockout. And our team is sitting there twiddling their fucking thumbs going, well, we'll see, because now you're not making the decision anymore. You're going to wait till chips fall, and then you're going to pick up what's left, hopefully. And hopefully there's something there for them that's going to work out well. And regardless, you're going to have to pay for it. You pay now, you pay later. So listen, it could end up working in their benefit. It could end up not working. I'm more inclined to believe that it's not going to work in their benefit. They don't seem to get lucky, as that people say. They're just not there. Now, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're exactly right. They always reference we were watching the market and saw the market was going, and it didn't go the way we thought it would go. You make the market. You set the tone. You set the price. You set it. You're a team in the third largest market in frickin' baseball, right? Or fourth, depending on.
And you're trying to win right now too.
And you're trying to win, and you're telling me you got all this cash you stacked up from not spending, a couple years back. So don't give me this BS that you've got to wait for what the market is going to bear. You go out there and be the aggressor, and you go out there and you set the tone.
Zero in on somebody and attack. I mean, a guy like Robbie Ray, that's right up the Sox alley in terms of years and money. That would have been a great get, a lefty, starting pitcher. Those types of things, to Summers' point and Pat's point, it seemed like the Sox were so caught off guard, and probably a lot of teams were this past off season of wow, things are moving, people are throwing money around. You should be prepared. I'm sorry, I'm not going to make excuses for you.
You make a plan A,
it's your job,
B, right?
Yeah.
If this happens, if it's slow, we're going to go this way. If it goes this way, we're going to do this. And think about the cool things you could give away for Robbie Ray Day, like tight pants, boys medium.
It sells itself. 100. You're right.
I'm down with that. I would love that.
That'd be fantastic.
Who doesn't love tight?
There would be people out in the left center bleachers on Saturday nights that literally weren't wearing pants, and they would paint their legs white.
They have the tightest pants. There's no question about that. There's no doubt. No, I totally agree with all the points you guys are making, especially my Sox Summers point about going out on the market and just grabbing guys. And I think looking at the way it's working right now, they should have not been scared of short-term high AAV acquisitions. Like Max Scherzer just signed a deal for 3 years and 120. They should have been on that. That's a closing move that the White Sox could make and say, we're trying to win 22 and 23. We're going to get a premium guy. I mean, there's not a lot left out there that you can do that with.
Yeah.
Short-term guys. I mean, if you want to go get Nelson Cruz and you like him, you can go get him. If you want to get someone like Zach Greinke, you think he's got anything left in the tank, or you want to go get Clayton Kershaw, you can probably get those guys on short.
Quintana's 33 years old. You're going to bring Quintana back? I mean, that's where we're at right now. but that's where we're at. The
approach should have been, we're blowing it out in 22 and 23. We know this is when we have kind of everyone here, especially 22. You have Abreu under contract still. I know there's people out there in the White Sox Twitterverse that, oh, he's on a lifetime contract. I'm not sure. He's still sitting there right now. You don't have an extension, and you have your first baseman in the future. And I know you guys love Andrew Vaughn unconditionally, like he's one of your children. But I'm not ready to say he's going to be as good as Jose Abreu when I wake up the first day of the season in 2023.
Nick just wants him to
I'm
be
not
Paul
sure he's
Konerko
as
2.0.
replaceable. Like,
that's it.
I remember in 2019, it was a foregone conclusion. Jose Abreu's toast. And then there's one guy out in the market writing Jose Abreu was going to be fine. That was this guy. And of course, he wins the fucking MVP in 2020. Not to brag, but I think most of the staff people, they kind of fuck up when it comes to these really great hitters.
But
my thought here is like, now's the time to spend. Spend absolutely right goddamn now. Fix every part of this thing that you can. And if you can do it on shorter term deals, do it. Because then when you start rolling into those later years, which we're going to get to in a minute, you got some freedom. You can do some more stuff.
And I think pitching needs to be addressed. I mean, pitching in my mind,
Yes.
and it kept us together last year in all these crazy
100%.
injuries. And it very well could happen again this year where some of our big boppers, our offensive power is lost. The pitching kept us together. We have to invest. What are you going to get? What are you realistically asking for from Kopech? Honestly,
you got to get
120 innings.
You need,
And Nick, the
yes.
crazy thing here is that like how healthy the starting pitching was for the Sox.
Yeah.
The amount of starts the 5 starters made is incredible in comparison to kind of the rest of the league. And we talked about this a few podcasts ago. What does it look like when they don't? Right? It looks like what happened in San Diego, and that's a problem, right? And that's where my mind goes when we talk about putting Crochet in the minors and having him stretch out and try and be a pitcher. Because think about what happens as soon as someone gets hurt out of this starting rotation.
You're going to say, thank God
Raylo.
we've got Ronaldo Lopez. Which who would have thought they were going to be saying that in 2022? But, you think you're done with pitching, go get more. That's my philosophy.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
You need 7 starting pitchers going into your season.
Minimum.
Yeah.
And you would like some of them to have minor league options. Right now, the White Sox are in a tough spot where they don't have those guys. Like their aces do. Like you could send Dylan Cease down. You wouldn't want to, but like you need guys that you can bring up and put back down when you have an injury. And the White Sox, the underbelly, the AAA stuff, it's not there. You don't really have that group, and it makes it brutal right now. It'll
be interesting to see what Dylan does this year now that he's signed with who he signed with and what he's got to prove this year. So that's going to be great for us as fans and maybe detrimental down the line, but we'll see what happens.
But I like that because he's betting on himself. He's like, you know what?
I
think I'm going to come out and I'm going to have a hell of a year and I'm going to get paid. And I got the right person to get me that money. And I love that aggressiveness, that confidence.
Yeah,
but does he have it between the years? That's the thing. We know he's got the arm. Does he have it between the years to be a dominant pitcher? And I'm sure we're going to see Rick Giolito tell me that he does, but I hope that he does because it seems like he can be frail in the early innings.
You think so?
I think he's trying to figure out, like he gets deep in accounts, he nitpicks, and he might get a little too cute, and then he finds his rhythm. I want him to tack more, and Stone will tell you that when you watch the games. It's like first pitch strike.
And you also wonder then too, though, and this is another Stone-ism. You need a good catcher back there for the guy to be able to whip that ball around. And that he was saying that within the end of this year when we're in the playoffs, the pitchers didn't have that faith in those catchers to catch the ball, so they weren't trying to go down low. They were trying to make it so the ball wouldn't go anywhere because they didn't want to give them any more goddamn runs. Yeah. I mean, it's just there's just a lot of different moving pieces. I love Dylan Cease. I think Dylan Cease came here a year too early, and his fucking reputation is following him too much. People think, oh, he's just not there. No, last year he showed what he could be. I think he was a fucking stud, and I think he's going to improve upon that this next year. And then the Boris thing, yes. I mean, why not? Well, you got to get paid, and he should get paid. And yeah, it'll happen. I'm looking forward to seeing God, please let there be baseball. To see Dylan Cease pitch again this year.
Can I ask you guys a question about a guy that's not pitching related? And then I don't want to take, and I don't want to take
bombs.
Go, baby.
I don't want to take things too far off the track here, but Moncada is such a hot topic. And, you know, Pat and I talk a lot about, I just don't think he can kind of out hit his way off the shadow of the beginning of the rebuild. Like, he was the big chip that came over, and people put so much pressure on him if he's got to be this like godly figure. And, you know, he's going to be damn good. And I love his glove. His defense has come around so much. I love him at third. And, you know, I think his offense is too. Where do you guys stand on Moncada? What does he have to do to get in your good graces?
So it's funny that you bring this up, because me and Beef were talking about this right before you guys all joined. And it's, you know, Pat, I think you know, you're a Star Wars guy, and you've probably been watching Boba Fett and the Mandalorian and stuff. And Beef was asking me, why are people mad about this? And I was like, well, you know, they expected one thing and they're kind of getting a different thing. And everyone's saying, well, I'm enjoying this, but I'm mad because this is not what I expected. And I think that's how people are with Yohan Moncada.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a group that is going, hey, we traded Chris Sale for this guy. This guy's a number one prospect. He needs to be a superstar. And he's good. He's a good player. He's valuable to the team, but I need him to be a superstar. And then the other side is going, you're not looking at the numbers. He's even better than you think. He's very good. And we're really arguing about good player versus very good player. And like, at the end of the day, Yohan Moncada is a really good contributor to this team. You've locked down a position. He's going to play third base very well. He's going to hit well. He's going to get on base a lot. And you've got a guy there that you can just lock in and know, okay, this guy's good to go. If he gets aggressive and becomes a superstar, that's the upside of it. But he has an extremely high floor for what he is. And he's been durable too in this past year. So like, you've seen that he can actually, you know, come in every day, day out and play. And so I think that I'm good with Moncada. He's not Luis Robert. Luis Robert is going to be your, you know, 5 or 6 WAR, you know,
Superstar
position player, right? So like, if I have that at third base and I just don't have to worry about it, I'm pretty good with that. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah. Good.
You know,
good
I think it's the shape of Moncada's production that throws people off, right? You can kind of find a guy who has above average on base percentage, below average power, plays good third base out there, right? And he does that better than everybody else. So like, he's an amplified version of that, right? He's a really good, super good version of that. But like, he logs floor wins or whatever, but you can probably find the 2.5 win third baseman out there. What people want to see is 30 home runs out of him. They want to see the production with the bat out of him. And the walks are great, and he has got a great eye, and that's you know, but it's like he should be batting leadoff or 7th with his power profile right now. And he bats second. So he bats in a really key spot in the lineup. And is he potentially costing them runs by batting where he bats? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing like a misbalance. If you want to sort for the top third baseman by WAR on any of the websites, and you look at their home runs and sort of the power stats, he's at the bottom. He's the worst one. Yeah. So he's got to improve on that, because the other stuff probably won't last. Like the great base running that he currently has may not last. The defense may not last that long. So I kind of get the argument. He's still really good right now. He's still a really good player right now. I'd like to see him hit for more power, much like lots of people on the internet think he should hit for more power.
Yeah.
Like
and Summer, how sweet was that bobblehead though? That Moncada bobblehead.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And go along with what Loaf says right there. People want to see more home runs, less music videos, and jumpers or rompers or whatever the hell that guy was wearing.
Rompers are on point though, man.
But that's what hurts
rompers,
him.
Actually,
That hurts him, because people are like, well, He's got time to write this killer ass song, make this dope ass video. Why can't he get in the cage 2-3 more times and start rapping out some home runs? What the fuck, bro? I mean, that's
Do you think
that's
the 12 hours he spent on that video would have made the difference. That's
I'm not talking about me, Chirizi. I'm talking about them other guys that don't know what's going on. Okay,
there's some guy. I think it's a generational thing too. You know, from where my seats are, I had some guys sitting behind me that are regulars. You know, in my section, and you know they were probably 65, 75, and you know, they just, man, the things that they were saying, it doesn't make any sense. Like they want Moncada to hit 45 home runs. They want him to display power constantly. I mean, I heard one guy said, you know, I heard he had COVID a while ago, you know, and he was out for like the whole year. It affected him. He's like, I had COVID. I was back at work in 3 days. I'm like, you know,
you're not a pro athlete, sir.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, we're not.
He gutted it out. I mean, that's
like,
the thing I hate to hear about Moncada. He's not tough or whatever.
Yeah.
He gutted that shit out during COVID, and then like Treasy mentioned, he played the whole season last year. You know, when everyone else was injured and no one else was around, and we were playing, Brian Goodwin and Billy Hamilton and all these guys. Moncada was out there. He answered the fucking bell every day. All right, that matters too. You know?
And I just wonder if it goes back to his first. I think it was his first year with us. He had 200 plus strikeouts, right? And he like, okay, I can't strike out this much. Okay, I have to. Or either he or somebody told him you can't strike out this much. So he really put an emphasis on I've got to take walks and I got to be more plate discipline and all that stuff. And then the power kind of seemed to dwindle a little bit because of it. So you got to marry that a little bit better. Like, you know, you can take a little, you can swing a little harder, but don't strike out 200 times. Somewhere in the middle is where he's got to live.
I think a lot of it is, and you saw it in the I think it was the 2019 season when he was just tremendous, is that, you know, if he's a little bit more aggressive on the first couple pitches and doesn't get behind in the count, he's a lot better. And so if they can bring that out of him, I've got tons of faith in my guy Frank Menachino to help him out with that. But like
Menachino magic,
the Menachino magic, it's coming back. But I think it could just be a matter of him getting a little bit more aggressive. But you know,
the book was
to that too.
The book was kind of out on him, is he's going to take the first pitch. And when you give a pitcher the ability to do what they want to do with an at bat, well, you've lost a lot of the power. So if you could keep them off guard and as a hitter and say, hey, if I've got something that I think I can drive, I'm going to go after it. I'm not going to get complacent, because once that pitcher is able to start doing what they want, then you're at their mercy. And some of these guys, man, you know, what they can do with the ball, forget about it. And when you get deep into the count and you got 2 strikes, it's challenging.
Yeah, I'd love to see him just come out early in the season and just start belting some of those first pitch fastballs. You know,
right into the
I was going to say 400 feet, but maybe the guy behind you, Nick, wants him to go about 800-900 feet. We'll
the guy behind me wants concourse, you know, 80% of the time, you know, and just put your head down and just stop grimacing. I don't want to see I don't want to see you popping up at second base, you know, kind of wincing and making some sort of face into the dugout.
People really have a problem with he wins. It's like, oh,
they
man,
do.
He's lumbering off the field again. Oh Lord, here he goes. This is the way. I mean, I'm lumber going up the stairs tonight to bed, for crying out loud. It's the same face I make after a podcast.
So let's look, you know, past 2023. And a question that I want to start with that we touched on a little bit earlier is, who's your first baseman? You know, even past next year or this coming year. So who's at first base for you in your mind right now? Who's the heir apparent to Abreu's spot? Nick, you can go ahead.
Andrew Vaughn. There's no question about that. But try to force it from Abreu. I mean, Abreu is not going to give up that position easily. Just like Aloy won't give up left field. You know, it's going to be a difficult conversation, but you know, Andrew, look what you saw from him last year and the amount of different things he did. He's an athlete, you know, and he's my guy at first base moving forward. I think that's why they got him. Honestly, I don't think it's to throw him in the DH spot. It's because he's going to be the future first baseman.
I have to agree with Nick here. Well, usually we don't agree, but I agree with him here. I mean, Andrew Vaughn was, in my mind, trending to have a really nice season until the back got creaky, and he's never played that many games before, right? He got to a point where the tank was just dry, the back was hurting, and we didn't see the best of him at the end. So my thinking is he's going to be the heir apparent to first base, a la, back when in my younger days when it was Frank Thomas moving out and here comes Paul Konerko. So that's the movement I see. It could be a Gavin Sheets situation. I don't know, but I think Gavin has a spot on this roster. I think there's a spot for a guy like him. He showed me a lot of consistency from a guy that hasn't, seen a lot of time. So, but I think it's Andrew Vaughn, and I think that's why they moved his timetable up so fast, right? Just, well, you don't need minors, just get up here, because they think he's got
overrated
that potential. So,
well, that brings up,
or like it's him or your Mercedes and left. I mean, you had to go with the better athlete.
Yeah,
and you didn't have a lot of options last year. After that went down, it's just like,
Nick, that you brought up something there about pushing people out, and this is something that like kind of got me upset during this past season when people were, going how great the Sox have drafted in their farm system because they've got 8 guys, out on the field that are draft picks, and it's like out of necessity. Like it wasn't like they pushed them.
We're
like
dying
they pushed
here.
guys out. It's that like everyone's hurt. So yeah, you got guys like Sebi Savala being on and Zach Collins being in there every day is not like, oh, look at the great farm system. It's like, what happened? Why are we doing this?
Look at this carnage.
Right. And so I like the idea of like, hey, let's push these guys out of these positions. And I think that's something that has to happen for these upcoming years, right? Like someone's got to develop, someone's got to come out and push these guys out of
so talking about pushing out, I mean, here's another topic that we debate constantly, Pat and I know you guys have had these conversations, is a guy like Eloy, do you just say to him, buddy, it's not happening in left field. My guy, it's not going to happen for you.
Does Tony put him on his knee and say, "Come here, buddy"?
Just let me read you a picture book on a guy that went from left field to DH.
Nick, the problem, who are you putting in left field then? Because
of course
you can. If you say Andrew Vaughn, I'm going to explain that Andrew Vaughn is a worse left fielder than.
He's much slower. Like the data shows that he's worse.
Back to the necessity. He's going to have to play there, and I hope he can get better and smarter. Really, it's about he's never going to be a Gold Glove left fielder, but it's like smarter at taking the right angle, the right approach, like knowing what you should be doing. Like you don't need to jump at everything, and know where you're at out there. Like where the warning track is, like get better at knowing other ballparks, just a sense of awareness. I think
that's 100% correct, because the man has the speed to play the position, so he should be able to do it. But he's got terrible instincts.
He doesn't want to stop.
That's right.
The speed is fine. It's the stopping that's a problem.
I mean, I even told Treasy they should put him in right field because he's not used to it. He won't run as fast, and he won't run into anything. Like he should just realize I have Luis Robert right next to me. Okay.
Yeah.
All I got to do is make the plays I know he can't make.
Yes.
Very easy. And he made a really nice one, a couple of really nice ones after he came back. One in Kansas City was like a running shoestring catch. And it's like, look, that is good Eloy in left. It could happen. The guy's got to focus on the thing, but truth be told, I don't give a shit what you look like in left field. If you got a WRC plus of 135 or whatever, if you slug 900, if you OPS 900, you play left field. I don't give a shit what you.
Well, but the flip is then like don't get hurt in left field because we need that offensive power.
Right, we need the
like that's where it goes. Like you're not here because you're a glove guy. You're here because you're bad, and we need that bat. So it's a delicate dance.
Just draw a circle out there and say, "Don't leave the circle."
If it's I want him in left field. I need Eloy in left field for me. I need him out there.
But.
We got to leave DH open because you never know what's going to happen.
Let's even say though that we want to say Eloy, is going to play some days in left field, and he's going to DH some days, and we're not going to put him in left field when we're in Kaufman, right? Like where it's a gigantic field, right? We're going to do
Those are the
something
days
like
he might DH. Yeah,
Engel's going to play left, and he's going to
right.
he's
We'll
going to
figure that
DH.
Man,
But
I
like-
like Angle. Oh, I hope he can stay healthy. I like Angle.
That's the thing, right?
Very
I mean,
sensual.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But Nick, to your point, like there's got to be someone else. Someone has to show up. Micker Adolfo didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Rutherford didn't show up. All these guys didn't show up. So Eloy's out there. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to be able to fill these guys in, and you've got to have guys always pushing up, because if you have those guys that are pushing up, even if you're like, hey, look, we've got this shortstop, he's ready to go, but we got Tim Anderson. Well, guess who you're trading at the deadline, right? Or guess who's playing second base when someone gets hurt? You know, like you got to have those guys. They don't have that.
So look at your catcher position. You know, we talked about Zach Collins. I know, but it's this is the stuff that keeps me up at night, and I know it does for a lot of other Sox fans. Is we've seen Sebi, we've seen Collins. Who else is there that's pushing up? You know, Grandal, man, he's had some knee issues. He's coming off of surgery this offseason. When he's right, he is so damn dangerous. But what's life like without Grandal? We saw it. It's horrible.
Right.
You know,
it's rough.
so
it's brutal.
So that is a huge question mark when you look at, 2024.
But isn't
And
that
you did
the
nothing
same
to
for
fill
every?
that in.
Yeah.
Isn't that the same for every team? If they lose their starting catcher, I mean, what other teams out there have fantastic backup catchers that are?
It's not about fantastic. It's about holding the line. It's about having a guy who has one skill, right? So most teams' backup catcher, at least the good teams, they've got a skill. Either they hit or they're like this good defender or whatever. We have neither. Like our two guys could pop in there. They can't do any of it.
Collins into one person. Do we have an adequate?
It would be one really bad player.
I was going to say, even Sebi's defense was kind of not
the worst person.
Great. Like we thought Sebi could play defense, and then you watched it and you're like, it's not that good. Like, and then he really can't hit. Like Sebi, if you remove the 3 home run game, like any of us could have hit what Sebi hit. Like for the rest
but the White Sox will never let you forget that 3-run home run game, man. Their social media.
I love that game, except they lost.
Yeah,
that's the only problem.
But back to one of Summer's points is that's where the pitching confidence went down the tubes. Is when they knew that there's no defense back there. You know, I can't get aggressive, especially when there's a guy on third. That's where a lot of things collapsed.
Yeah, it hurts big time, and I wish they would have made a move early in the market and gotten a good backup. Someone maybe who had some years left. So this way you've got that person beyond when you have Yasmani Grandal. I mean, like, I don't know. I would love to have Yasmani Grandal here longer, but I don't know if they're going to sign him for an extended period of time.
Well, I don't know if they'll pay him what he thinks he's going to get paid, right?
And Richie Leo is saying we're being too negative right now.
You guys are
this
being
team. What are you
negative.
talking about? We're just looking at
This team is going to
the
be
little stuff,
team is going to be an absolute force in 2022 and
they're a fucking juggernaut in 2022.
But
they might be the best team in the American League without adding a goddamn thing in 2022.
But
Rick,
we're getting nitpicky here. Go ahead.
Well, I think, Rick, what we're concerned about, and I don't want to lump myself in with all the negative Nancys, but I'm kind of in there too a little bit. But please don't hold it against me when we talk next time, just please don't. I think what we want right now is we want, your son and all his teammates to just have the best shot going into these next 2 years for sure. Like we need that for these next 2 years solid. And I think we've been around long enough with the Sox to know that that's an iffy proclamation. Like it might happen, it might not. And we just really, really hope, don't think that you have this catcher thing solved because you don't, because of one game from Sebi Zavala. Like that's just not that might happen. Why are we risking that? We're so willing to risk that somebody could turn into something so beautiful, but we're unwilling to risk the money just to purchase something so beautiful. Like I don't think, we're worried that somebody might get hurt if we pay too much, but we're not worried about like something not turning out the way it's supposed to. And that's the frustrating, I think, part of being a White Sox fan, especially with like a 9-figure, loss in 2020. So they might not, may not spend money because they didn't they didn't make money. I don't know. I just get very confused.
I have to say, like to Rick, like, how can we be positive talking about the time that we're gonna have this team after your son is gone, right? Like after he leaves.
So
like, how
so
can
you
I
guys
possibly be positive about that?
So let's just say this. I mean, what are your thoughts on Lucas Giolito coming back? Yeah, I mean, do you think they're going to offer him a fair contract, a premium contract?
I don't know if they will, but they should, and for obvious reasons, not just the player. So like the White Sox tend to look at these things like player value, but then also like brand franchise value.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't, I mean, the two guys on the current roster that have the brand franchise value that are the highest are Lucas and Tim Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see those guys playing until they can't play anymore in White Sox uniforms. All right. And I think most Sox fans look at it the exact same way. I want to watch them when they're old and not good anymore. I want to be in my set. I'll be old too, and I won't be able to drink as much as I can drink right now. But I want to watch them finishing out their day. Like a lot of people complain about Paul Konerko that last year, the last year and a half, basically when he was no good. You know what? I was glad he was still there. I was glad to see him, see those final days, see the retirement. I want to see that shit. All right. That's what fans want to see. We want these guys to be there at the beginning, and then we want to watch them all the way through. And look, we're going to be there for them and cheering for them. And when at the end, when it's not good, but they do something good, we're going to be cheering our fucking asses off. And guess what? We'll be there when they retire the jerseys and everything. That's what I want.
Maybe.
I want those guys like that.
I absolutely want let's call it 10 years from now, Tim Anderson at third, one good leg still, but he's picking balls and just launching it across the
he's throwing it like Juan Uribe would throw it. That's how I want to see Tim Anderson, but still can hit for power. He can't run anymore, but he's still hitting home runs.
And sold out for power, right? He's hitting 250 for 30 bombs, and I'm good with that. I would love that's what I want. But the problem is I don't got enough of those guys right now. I don't got enough of those guys that I want to hang on to for that long. And so, Lucas is going to pitch till he's 40, because that's what guys like him do now. I mean, you're looking at
smarter.
They're smarter out there. He's making $40 million this year. He's 37. I love it.
Well, pitchers reinvent themselves, right? And that's how you survive. Is you figure out new pitches. You get crafty. And some of these guys that can pitch a little later, they figured it out, because once the book's out on you, it's very difficult to keep throwing out the same stuff. So you have to keep reinventing yourself.
Well, and I think Lucas is been working at that, right?
Oh yeah,
the slider. I mean, he's been so fastball changeup dominant over his career, and I don't know. And Rick will probably put this in the chat here pretty soon, but I don't think the slider was used as much as it could have been, and it needs to be for him to continue to progress in his career, because eventually that changeup fastball will be figured out, and here it comes. Maybe not, but I think you're right, Nick, and you need to continue to reinvent yourself and add pitches to your repertoire. And I think that's something that Lance Lynn will talk about with these guys, because he's always trying to reinvent another fastball. I mean, he's got 9 of them. So how many more fastballs can he throw, right?
We'll find a new one at Bavette's one night. He'll make sure.
Oh, man. I want to have beers and steak with that guy, man. I don't want to pay for it, though. I feel like Lance can probably eat a lot of steak.
There's no question.
Well, I get Goose Island to pay for it.
So, we touched on catcher and who are you looking at? Obviously no one on the team, but anyone out there that you got your eye on, oh man, I would love this guy to come to the Sox, and that would be the post Grandal guy. Or is it, you want to develop somebody, you want someone to come in and come through the minors?
You're mean, right? Keep developing.
Man, I would love
the 100-year plan for your mean Mercedes.
I don't know if he's got
42 this year.
Yeah, I was going to say starting catcher at 36.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody in the pipeline that we could talk about in terms of who's the next catcher for
Perez,
this team.
maybe, right? Like that's the guy.
He's the next guy up. Yeah.
So it's going to be another free agent signing eventually to replace your last big free agent signing at catcher. So unless unless you're willing to draft somebody like you drafted Zach Collins that didn't work out. And again, maybe this organization is gun shy in doing that, like they were after they made the big signing of John Danks. And it's like, that didn't work out. So we're not going to sign guys long-term to 5-year deals anymore, big contracts. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I have no idea what their plans are after Yaz. I mean, and maybe it's we keep Yaz, but not as a catcher. Maybe he's the future DH, right? And we want to keep his bat in the line. I have no idea. That may be crazy talk, but I don't know how much longer you can play.
I mean, like there's options if you want to keep the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to keep the bat, but I don't know how much longer the knees can hold up with as much work as they've had done.
That's with a catcher, it's tough. Like that, the fall off is rapid.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like there's just, you see a lot of these catchers and it's just like at all of a sudden, it's just not great. Your mean is something interesting. I would
his own entity.
I'd like to see what happens with him.
You know what's funny,
Trey, how about you? What do you think on catcher?
Go ahead, Nick. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just a position that I honestly haven't thought too much about because of the second base right field situation that's going on right now for the Sox. I take for granted that Grandal's there, and I know he's not going to be there forever. I sadly think that they're really going to try to force this Collins thing, maybe out of pride. I don't know, but it's scary, when you think about what the catching position is going to look like after Grandal. I think it's going to be outside of the organization, though. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think I'm a little worried about that because I think that like a lot of the positions are going to start having to come from outside of the organization. So, I'll toss this out to everybody, but like if you're looking at what are these guys going to do, what are the Sox going to do internationally and in the draft, like where do you think they should start going as they're inching towards 2023, 2024?
Right field. Can we get right field solved?
I mean, honestly, all right fielders.
Just everybody that's there are you left-handed right fielder? Because I'm told that you have to have a left-handed right fielder. You can't be right-handed and play left or right field for this team. You got to be left-handed. So, my God, in my lifetime, can we just have someone play right field consistently for a couple of years in a row and be a decent player? That's all. I mean, the bar is so low. That's all I'm really looking for. So just continue. It's like draft a quarterback every year. If you're your football team, draft a right fielder every year. That's all I want.
We've hammered this over the years, but did you want to see Harper in a Sox uniform with that money?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
all of us did. Yep.
It seems obvious, but I know a lot of folks did not want that much money roped in. But it's just you go back and you're like, man.
Why do people care so much about other people's money? They do, man. Money. Why just pay it?
If you could do it right now, if you could, knowing what you know now, if you could put the contract in right field, almost every Sox fan would do that shit tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, most of us thought like this was a great idea. And I remember it was the Machado and Harper thing.
Yeah.
And most of us wanted either of them. We'd take either, but there were some people who was like, we definitely want Harper. We were down for either, and Harper would have been the better buy specific to this roster, basically.
Yeah, he would have fit in on the South Side perfectly. You talk about in terms of drafting, and I kind of want the Sox to be purposeful with positions that need to be filled, not necessarily we're going to go after the best talent in the draft, because that's kind of they've gone that route, but they haven't done anything with it. Like I thought they would go after the best talent, they would bring it in, and then maybe they would flip it, and it hasn't really happened the way I thought it would be. They'd package some things off. It's like, we got these great players, we don't know what to do with them. There's a log jam at these positions. Maybe we'll trade and we'll get somebody that we actually need. It hasn't really happened except for the Dunning. So right now it's like infield, see if you can figure out something, for second base. I don't know, but I do think pitching, man, what kind of pitching do we have in the pipeline? Nothing really that
Not
exciting.
much.
Right.
Not much. Jorge
Not
Vera is
yet.
probably the most exciting guy.
Yeah, nothing that's done anything. I mean,
Right. I mean, Lambert, Stever, like, what's going on?
Nothing.
I mean,
even though you look at Kelly and Thompson, and like there's not anyone who's
Jared Kelly.
who's
He
made
could
a
use
jump,
108
right?
weight loss.
Oh man, yeah, he's thick.
There's no question. He is thick.
He's a thick. But like no one's made that jump, right? No one's come out, and no one's really come out of nowhere. I mean, and anyone who has is already gone. Like either they're traded or they're just out of the org. So like there's not a lot there. I think one thing I was thinking about is like, is it time to go back to? There was a time when the Sox would just like only draft guys in college because they knew that they were like pretty close to the majors, and they were just like, let's try and do this. And if you try and backfill like that, but I feel like the college talent is been kind of going down and down and down. And so you're like, what are you going to get from that kind of strategy? And I'm just not quite sure what they do draft wise.
Yeah. Do you think maybe in a weird way it hurt them by drafting, they had such high draft picks and it felt like, well, fish in a barrel. Like, how can I go wrong here? But in a lot of ways you kind of did. I mean, there's something to, and this is a tough craft to figure out, but to really pining for these draft picks in later rounds, for the talent, the scrappers, the guys that, will rise up to the top. I don't know. There's no science to that, but it's just a thought.
It seems like they went so pitcher heavy for so long, and it's like they couldn't draft a position per player. So they started drafting position players and they kind of ignored drafting pitch. So it's like, can you do both? I mean, there's enough picks, right? Can you
you think both, but they did spend a lot of money on pitchers early in drafts in the last 3-4
recently.
years. And they bear no fruit. I mean, and not even like, oh, there's a guy who's like on the verge of being in the majors. There's no one that's in the top 100 that shot up a little bit and they're in like A ball, but they were really good. So you could trade them right now. Like the main deal here, I think, Teresi, is the player development is really lacking. Well, especially for the recent draftees. Like if you look at the tanking years, the years where you said, I'm going to be bad because I want to draft really high. They're all bet on Andrew Vaughn basically right now because you traded Madrigal for Kimbrel, which I'm in favor of, right?
Fine.
You go for it when you can go for it.
Yes.
Right. You take a shot there. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I applaud Rick Hahn for doing that. I'm sometimes not always so generous to Rick Hahn, but I agree with that move right there. But right now, for all the tanking, they're really just basing it all on Andrew Vaughn. They could have not tanked. They could have traded everyone and started buying real players immediately because they didn't get anything in those drafts.
You could say he was our only hope.
He's their only hope for that. Yeah, to fill that in. Yeah,
Teresi got it. He got that one.
And I got to say though, like when you're looking at this overall player development, like the one kind of glimmer is can Ethan Katz come in here? And we haven't seen much from him yet because he's brand new. And when you're talking about putting together a pitching organization and starting to develop these guys, what would be great is if we start to see a couple guys pop. Well, if Crochet goes down and becomes a starter, if if Vera pops, if one of the guys, the Dahlquist, Thompson, Kelly, that group, if like one of those guys just even becomes like a reasonable pitching prospect, like those kinds of things, that's a good start. If you could have him develop some of those guys. So I would like to see what he does in the next couple of years.
Would you give him some partial credit for Rodon and potentially Raylo too for this past year?
I think certainly Raylo
and Dylan Cease,
right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think you got to. I think he at least made it a comfortable enough environment for them to go out and kick some ass. I would think
for
right?
Raylo,
it's a big lift to go from assistant pitching coach to the man, where you got to handle every day-to-day thing and also try to work up these other guys. So like, it's understandable that year one we didn't get like random guys out of the bullpen killing it that you never heard of, right?
Mhm.
But year 2 and year 3, we're kind of going to need that, right? They don't.
Yeah.
They haven't been an org after, like that is going to bring up a bunch of guys that come out of the bullpen. It's like, oh shit, these guys are all throwing 99. They're unstoppable. Like, and this is like, they've been going out in the marketplace and having to pay those guys. They've been having to pay the Liam Hendricks. They got to pay the Kendall Graveman. When you don't have to pay them guys, then it's really easy to afford right field power hitter lefty guy that we really need. Like, so I think one of the keys of this whole thing, kind of out 24, 25, is going to be Ethan Katz and the development he is able to get out of the pitchers. And not just the mainstream guys. I'm talking guys you never fucking heard of that come up and throw 60 innings of BBs for the team.
And
you gotta go.
It's like an organizational thing, right? It's not just it's not just at the major league level.
100%.
It's like an organizational
It's him
philosophy
pushing that. Yeah. It's
for
totally
everything.
correct,
And we're in
Pat.
year 1 of Ethan Katz, and I don't know how much
That's why you
direction
can't.
he gives to the rest, but it's got to
And
be
that's
an
what he should be
organizational
doing.
philosophy.
That's
Yeah,
his
he should.
organization.
That's
Right.
right.
But
He's pushing that down.
I mean,
and doing it. That's right.
he seemed like he was drinking a little bit from a fire hose with everything he was trying to wrap his brain around. And
Understandable.
wait a second,
That's
you want me
year
to
one,
do
baby.
this with this guy, and we're going to maybe transition this guy over here.
A
And
lot in year 1.
there's a lot, but yeah, I think
And then
it
he's
has to
going,
be a
"Oh,
triple-
you're going to have that guy. You're going to have our pitcher pinch run in this situation."
No.
Wait a minute. What happened?
Oh.
Excuse me, I'd like
Can
to
we
talk
not
to
do
you.
that?
Wait a minute. Whoa, hey, whoa, talk combo.
so good.
Can we talk about
How
that?
did you guys end the season with La Russa? What was your take on at the end of the season with him?
I mean, I like as a group, I don't know how these guys felt, but I mean, I don't think he's all that important one way or the other.
Mhm.
And I think that was kind of how I felt going into it. Like he could maybe make a little bit of a difference here or there, but I just didn't. I don't know. I think we would have been in the same position with Rick as we were with Tony, because I don't think they have much sway anywhere. If you gave Rick all the players that Tony got, I think you would have had a similar outcome. Maybe Tony inspired them a little bit during all the injury stuff, but I don't buy it.
It's kind of funny because Treasy and I got into a huge argument on a Twitter Spaces with White Sox Dave and Shane Reardon defending Tony. And we are totally not Tony guys. We were like, what the fuck are they doing hiring Tony? Why would they do this? This is a weird way to do this whole situation. But we wanted to let it play out. It was really tough to analyze Tony because you had so many opinions on him because of the personality, right? And I understand that. I was on one angle with the personality, not the biggest fan, although I do like that he works for an animal organization. They foster pets. I like that shit. But the rest of the thing was a little tough for me. But in the end, I thought he did an okay job. I don't know that he's a big advantage for this team, which is what you were hoping he would be. He seems like a mediocre manager at this point in his career. Like, he's not going to hurt you, but he's also not really helping that terribly much. Treasy, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it started out rough, right? I think, he hadn't done it in a long time and he got back into it, and you would see him kind of fail, right? And then he'd fix whatever he did wrong.
He'd learn. He'd figure it out.
And that kind of continued through the year. I don't think he managed well in the playoffs. I also have a problem with the lack of shifting that the team did, which definitely hurt them throughout the season. Those are the types of things, though, that, like, based on what I saw him do throughout the season, and just knowing that, like, he's a baseball mind. He's been doing this for a long time. He cares about this. Those are things I think will be fixed. And I think that he'll be a good manager next year. He will not be a great manager. I don't think there's a great version of him at this point, but he'll be a good manager. And when you got the talent that you have here, that's all you need. You just need a guy not to fuck up. Right? Like, you need a guy to keep the clubhouse together and not fuck up. Like,
but don't
Ricky
you
Renteria
want?
was pretty much that guy.
Oh, I loved Ricky. I honestly, but going back to the whole, timeline, don't you want a guy? That was my problem with the La Russa hire is, what was he on, a 3-year deal? Maybe it didn't seem like he was going to be the guy that was going to be through this window with us. I don't know. I don't see him managing, into 2024, 2025 with this team. So then you're going to get a new guy in that's got a new philosophy, and maybe that does something, maybe it doesn't. That's my take on it a little bit. It seemed like he was really trying to play catch up on a lot of things this past season. Yeah. Things caught him off guard that really shouldn't have caught him off guard. Didn't seem like he was on the same page with a lot of other folks. So I hope he can figure it out this year, but I don't know.
But Nick, I think he gets credit for the 93 wins, and I think he gets credit for the, I don't know, less than 10 games that his core players were actually in the lineup at the same time. So he does get some credit, in my opinion. Now, did he have flaws? Yes. Did those flaws get somewhat rectified and improved halfway through the season? I believe they did. So, I mean, I was not on board with this hire when they made it, believe me. But he's a manager I think we can win with, and I think we can win the whole thing with.
The one thing that I've thought about as I've seen it play out is if McEwing is their guy for the future, and if this has been a bridge to that, I could see that being the plan, or possibly Cairo, but I think McEwing more likely in my mind. That maybe this is just a grooming, and then Nick, maybe it's not so much of a shock of like, let's change the whole philosophy.
It sure seems like the players like him, McEwing. It seems like he has a really good rapport with them, and that's a good point, Chirizi.
And Nick, you're right. I mean, like most of managing people is just building those relationships, getting them to listen when it comes time to actually listen to something. Like it's less about being like the smartest guy in the room. It's more about like, can you convey the message? Can you get the message to the players? And like, so I totally agree with that.
Well, fellas, we've agreed on something. I've made a good point. I think we got to cut it here. But,
absolutely.
But guys, really appreciate you joining tonight. It was a ton of fun. We can disagree about some of these things like the, Andrew Vaughn's defense and so on. But I at the end of the day, I just really love talking baseball with you guys. And I hope we can do it some more. And I hope we can do it in the stadium at some point in the near future. Pat, Nick, thank you so much for joining. And we will hear from you guys soon, I hope. And remember, Nick, throw out those dates for the trivia too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thursday, March 10th and Thursday, March 24th. Both of them start at 7 p.m. It's the Rock Island Public House in Blue Island. Their website has a lot of the information. We'll be updating our Twitter page. And huge thank you to you guys. I love the community that you have built and fostered. And honestly, when people throw out the hashtag 108 and why I'm 108ing, and of course there's obviously the drinking part of it, but it's more than that to me, guys. You really have built something, and it's an awesome space to just bounce ideas, to the creativity. I love all of it. So keep it up, man. And it's I hope to be talking with you guys much more.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us. I mean, this was a thrill for me. You guys do a fantastic job, and we appreciate you reaching across the aisle and having us on tonight.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'll be looking forward to my invite to your show.
Yeah, it's on Nick. Nick is all the inviting. I just
keep us in line for the live events too. We like fucking on live. Also.
Awesome. I love.
We have a little experience with doing those live events.
Little
experience.
Plus, we have a PA. And if anybody that's ever been in a band, if you know a guy with a PA, like he should always be in the band.
That's huge.
It's like knowing a drummer, man. It's like knowing a drummer.
It's got to know that guy.
Pat, Nick, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Cheers.
Thanks, fellas.
Oh, fellas, that was a good time, man.
That was awesome.
It was.
We could have talked for 4 more hours on Sox.
I know. I felt like I needed to cut it because it was just like, this is easily going to go 3 hours if I don't. And like, I think Quarantine would be pissed if I pissed my pants in the office.
For the second time today, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Oh, easily. Third probably.
And we can do it again. We'll have him on again. You don't need to.
Absolutely. I do like the idea of doing a live event. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I would love to do a live one with them for sure.
So fellas, we're coming to the end here. You want to give some thank yous? My Sock Summer, you want to go first? Thank yous.
Oh, dude. I mean, big thanks to Papa G coming into the chat, like saying some shit. He uses a lot of emojis, which I
respect that, man.
Kind of surprised by, and some of the way that he spelled some words also made me think maybe this isn't Rick Giolito. But then I'm like, with that profile picture, it can't not be Rick Giolito. It's delicious. So thanks for coming through and dropping little nuggets in there. It definitely made it good for everyone that watches this show live on YouTube.
Oh, for sure. Beef, who are you thinking?
I'm going to thank Tom Skilling for absolutely fucking nailing that snowstorm forecast. I got to thank Billy Wires for his comments that almost made me spit directly into the mic. And I got to thank our guests, Nick and Pat. They were tremendous, and they had a lot of great thoughts on White Sox, and we didn't agree on every goddamn thing, which was really nice. That's fun when you have a show where everyone doesn't agree, but you know what? No fighting. Let's just talk through these points. I really enjoyed tonight's show.
Cool. I'm going to just thank everyone in advance that comes out to my show on the tomorrow night on February 4th. Rick, you know, it's funny. We're usually much more positive.
We are.
We're positive guys, but we were looking out into the future, and you know it gets shaky when you get looking into the future, and so we had to be honest. So we're nothing if we're not honest. So that's where a little of the negativity came from. But man, I'm excited for this season. Whenever it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be soon. I think there's some positivity for you. Let's get this lockout ended.
Let's finish it, baby.
End it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We'll talk to everybody soon. Loved having this. We haven't done this in a couple weeks, so it was really great to do again. So talk to you guys soon.
Peace.